Welcome, my friends and enemies. Glad you are here. I am joined today with one of the Council of Light, Unknown Sage, and perhaps more will join us later if they are available. How's it going, Sage?
Well, I mean, I think it's going quite okay. Nothing terrible happened recently.
Well, it's about to
Uh,
get terrible, don't worry.
well, yeah, sure. I'm not looking forward to this video, but hey, someone has to look at them, and
I mean, you are looking forward to it, don't lie.
fair enough. I do like roasting people.
I think we all do in our own way. So, all right. Well, we have I'd say special, but we have a whole series of this, so they're not really special, but a
Well, I
special.
mean, they're special in the sense that for some reason this got accepted to an official Tolkien thing. So,
Tolkien Society.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, we got Nicholas Birns. That's Burns with an I. The Lossoth Indigeneity. I think that's how you said it was.
Indigeneity is
That
the
one, yeah.
pronunciation.
Identity and Antiracism. It's gonna get good.
Lovely.
Let me know if you can't hear it, but
The
I'm
Lossoth.
pretty sure you'd be able to hear it.
Especially since this paper deals with fantasy representations of indigenous people. I would like to acknowledge the
Does he not have a proper intro? Does he just immediately start talking?
Yes.
Wow.
I don't know if it was like he had an intro and they just cut it off because it was pointless. I don't.
I mean,
I,
that's fair.
keep in mind, this is the 1080. On my screen, it looks like 400.
Yeah, it doesn't look great.
Ape people,
Yeah.
the traditional owners of the land on which I live now. I am now going to share my screen.
What? Higher production value. We can see that. Yes. Nice.
Share my screen. Oh, about that. But yes, I'd like to point out. I don't know where this guy's from, but I would guess probably America or England.
Could be. Anyway, the Lossoth apparently refers to the snowman of Forakel, which is somewhere in the north of
Like near Angmar
the
and
region.
Arn.
Yeah, well, it's somewhat to the west of Angmar, in the north, above the Shire. Well, north of the Shire, if I'm not mistaken.
Arnor should be north of the Shire, so it's probably north.
No, Honor is southeast.
Arnor?
Yeah.
The last time I saw a map, let me look up a map real quick.
I suppose the Shire could have been part of it, but the Shire, if it was part of it, is in the northwestern part of Arnor.
Waiting for the maps to load because
And then Forakel is further north even than the Shire.
So Linden.
So you have Linden, then the Blue Mountains, then maybe a bit of No Man's Land, then
No,
Arnor.
it
The
keeps
Shire might be part of the northwestern part of Arnor. And then if you could look up, there's like a little bay with
Arnor is
ice.
North of the Shire.
No.
I'm looking at it because where the Shire is, and you go east towards Bree. If you keep going east, you go towards a bridge, you end up in Rudour.
Mm-hmm.
That's Arnor. So the Weather Hills, Fornost.
Yeah, but that's east.
The whole thing's up north, dude. Like it's like from the arid Lewin all the way across to the mountains. But it's north of the Shire. Like the Shire's here. It's all.
No, that's impossible because Eriador, the southern part, is all Arnor.
I thought Eriador was the region. Arnor's the kingdom.
Well, yeah, but Arnor is the kingdom in Eriador.
Yes, well, it's a kingdom. It's not the entirety expanse of it. Let me see if I can. I mean, technically, it includes the Shire. Because there's Arthedain, Rhudaur, and Cardolan. And
Yeah, could be.
the Shire would be part of Arthedain.
Arthedain being the northwestern part.
Yes. But it goes from basically the south side. It touches water in the south by Cardolan and goes all the way up north above Angmar. And then the
Mhm.
Rhudaur is just directly south of Angmar. And yeah. So Arnor is it always is shown as the lost realm of Arnor, but it's the name where it says Lost Realm of Arnor is like directly to the west of Angmar. I know it.
I'm not sure that is true.
I'm looking at the maps, dude. I don't know what to tell you. Just
Which maps? Can you show it on screen?
I could, but that would require effort. How about this? Blah, 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 blah. Let's see. Hey, can you share stuff, and then I can share your stuff
Maybe.
here.
I'm not sure how that works.
I'll put it in private chat. That's the link. If you post it, because otherwise I have to reset up my other window. I just don't want to bother with that.
Yeah, sure. Let's see. How would I go about sharing this?
At the bottom it says share screen.
Okay.
So what I would recommend is pull it out to its own window. If you pull it out to its own window, then you can
present.
swap from the drop down.
Let's see. But if I share screen, and then go to the thing, does it show anything?
Did you select your thing from the drop down?
There
should be a thing up at the top.
Okay, it just took a while to pop up.
Yeah. And sometimes
damn, I have too many tabs, so
that's what I'm saying, is if you pull it out into its own window, it'll pull up on the list.
Yeah, but my list is like a million things, so it's not ideal. It's so much
It should be
that
per
the bar lags trying to scroll through it.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be per tab. It should be per window.
And now it shows individual tabs.
That's depressing.
Ah, I found it. Okay.
There we go.
Okay, is that visible?
Yes,
so it says here Arnor, sure, but Arnor is this whole part.
So it technically, yes. Cardalath is where Minirath, or Cardolan, not Cardalath. Cardolan is where Minirath goes.
This is like the border.
Yeah.
On the north.
What I'm saying is that
okay, the Shire is a bit further south than I expected. I thought it was a bit more like here.
It's technically in the borders of Arnor,
Mhm.
even though it's considered the Lost, so it's not technically in Arnor at the moment of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
But basically, Arthedain right there was
This
one of
here is one of the provinces.
Well, it
That
goes
as
all
well, and then you have well,
see what-
Cardolan actually goes all the way over here.
Brandywine goes all the way to the water at the bottom.
Yeah, but also it goes all the way to the bottom here of the Grey Flood.
That's Cardolan. I'm talking about Arthedain.
Oh, just after that. Yeah, sure.
Arthedain, follow the Brandywine. It's on the west side of Brandywine and the east side of the Blue Mountains. So it basically touches there at, I think that's Amon Varn, the little forest down at the bottom, at that little delta.
I'm not sure where you're pointing, but
It's at the by Minareth.
Minareth.
South, west,
South.
right. Yep, you had your cursor right on top. Minirath, right there. South.
Oh, this. That's a bit further south than I was expecting.
To the left of that is Ermin Von or whatever, and then right next to Ermin Von is where the Brandywine comes out. So from Ermin Von to the land Dare is Cardolan's territory, all the way up to the last bridge in Bree. That's Cardolan. Rudour is the northern part above Last Bridge that kind of goes over the Weather Hills and stuff, but doesn't get quite to Fornost. Then Arthedain basically covers from the Blue Mountains right next to the Brandywine and Armenvon all the way up. It's the largest of the three.
Yeah, northern border being here. This here is the Ice Bay of Forakel, which is where the Lossoth live, which is going to be the topic of this particular video.
Because it's such a topic worth.
According to the title, that is.
Yeah.
Well,
they mentioned something in the let me pull it up so I can read it since it's. All right. So the context is in Appendix A of the Lord of the Rings. We are told that Arvedui, the last king of the line of the Valandil in the north, takes refuge from the Witch King in the collapse of the this is terrible grammar. In the collapse of the own kingdom of Arthedain in Third Age, 1974, with the Lossoth. The Lossoth are polar area indigenous people, clearly modeled on the Inuit, Sami, or Nenets. I don't know why he says clearly, because
yeah, clearly seems a bit much, but
I mean,
it's
I haven't
reasonably so, maybe.
It might be a reasonable assumption or whatever, but just because they're an indigenous people and cold does not make them instantaneously Indians. It's just kind of weird.
So are Indians?
Isn't the Inuit Indians?
No,
Are they like Eskimos?
they're like the Eskimos.
Never mind. Okay, if they're Eskimos then maybe.
That's the Inuit is the official term.
They must be Eskimos. It's a little stretch, but maybe they are. I don't know. But
India is not remotely related.
I'm thinking probably another Native American tribe that starts with an I, and I'm just drawing a blank right now. I played Civilization too much. It might be the Iroquois I'm thinking of. Is who I'm thinking of.
Could be, but there's a more south.
Well, yes, but none of these are in Europe, so that's why I'm press X to doubt.
Well, no, the Inuits sort of could be said to be related to the Sami people of far northern Scandinavia.
Okay, that's like really, really far away from England, but okay.
And no one said anything about England.
Well, no, I'm saying
Right.
because Tolkien's work is based as a mythos for England.
Oh yeah, sure.
It's going to be mostly based around it in that sense, and I'm just
But
like,
we also know that he really likes the Finnish stuff.
love the Finnish, yes. I get that part, and that maybe
And the
that
Finnish are currently Finland is where the Sami would have lived
okay, so fair
in
enough.
the northern bit.
Arvedui lives for a short time in harmony and mutual assistance with them. Arvedui even gives the heirloom of his house, the ring of Barahir, to the Lossoth, recognizing that they are kin enough to receive this ancient symbol of the Edain. Arvedui is man. Why do they have to start everything with Arvedui? Like who wrote this? A 2-year-old?
Yes,
is able to be intersectional, at least temporarily, and recognize the racial diversity of Middle Earth. That non-whites there, in Eliza Farrell's words, contribute their own worth, quote unquote. That the Lossoth know. Yeah, apparently, Arvedui is able to be intersectional. I don't know why. I don't think that's anything.
No, that doesn't make any sense.
At least temporarily.
How can they be intersectional if they don't have intersectionalism in Tolkien land?
Well, because they don't have trans people either, but they have trans allegories in Gondor and stuff, don't you know? Remember?
Sure, but I mean, at most, anti-racist, right? But not intersectional, because intersectional is specifically mixed with, for example, homosexuality being something you need to accept, as well as maybe other deviant behaviors.
I'm assuming they're gonna talk about that stuff, but we got recognize the racial diversity of Middle Earth, that non-whites there, in Eliza Farrell's words, quote, contribute their own worth, end quote. That the Lossoth know and feel situated in their own physical environment. I'm literally reading this verbatim, by the way. In a way, Arvedui does not help save the king's life. I do not understand what they're writing. Yet Arvedui's poignant story is ultimately mobilized into the genealogy of Aragorn's kingship and Númenórean restoration. Indigeneity, I probably butchered that, reinscribed
That was probably, it
an
sounded correct.
avatar of settler colonialism rather than valued for itself. The story of the Lossoth thus at once reveals the tantalizing potential of diversity in Tolkien's represented world and a corollary, yeah, corollary.
Corollary, yeah.
My tongue's not working, and nor does their reading make sense half the time. Tendency for conventional valuations for whiteness and hierarchy to reassert themselves. Yet,
Right, but the Lossoth are white.
they are.
Well, they are from the same type of people as Dunland.
I mean,
And if they're based on the Sami/Inuits, those are also white.
don't tell Nicholas. Where was I?
Right?
For
I mean, it's basically saying, people from far northern Scandinavia are not white.
well, probably reinscribed into an avatar of settler colonialism rather than valued for itself. The story of the Lossoth thus at once reveals the tantalizing potential of diversity in Tolkien's represented world and corollary tendency for conventional valuations of whiteness and hierarchy to reassert themselves. Yet, as in the cognate role played by the people of Gondorigan in the War of the Ring, the momentary appearance of the Lossoth is still meaningful. This is particularly so as they are geographically positioned at the extreme north and west of Middle Earth, and two compass points that Tolkien elsewhere values as an analog for his own Europe. Thus, the Lossoth operate as an internal brake upon Eurocentrism. They show that resistance to evil cannot be channeled through one model of identity, belonging, or power. Well, if the Lossoth are white, none of that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, the category of white may not necessarily list to skin color, because I heard recently that the Asians are also white. And I'm pretty sure most of the Middle East is considered white.
Although I do find it funny because I think it's more of the southern Asians, like in Vietnam and Thailand and stuff. They kind of go away from yellow and go towards more like a brown. So it's like almost
yeah.
They're becoming more Indian.
But Indian is also Asian.
They are, but I'm saying that they're definitely not in the same category in terms of.
No, but they're considered white because they're too good to fall in the non-white category, right?
They do fall in the
You
minority.
can't be racist against white people, so if they do too well, then it's problematic. So you must consider them white to be.
You can also be white if
to,
you're black because you vote differently.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. If you don't vote for Biden, then that would be
You ain't even black.
Mhm. But what does that mean for people who do not live in America?
They ain't black. Or they got mail-in ballots.
That's probably more likely. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway,
Depends where all the extra votes came from, right?
Anyway,
Yes.
you can pull that presentation thingy off if you want to. There you go.
Oh, I thought it was automatically already gone because the screen's back to normal.
No, I can.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I saw that it's still stuck in the bottom here, but
yeah,
I'm not familiar with how this works.
Potato to the ground trying to hold that up there just to continue it, but let's continue the video and see if he gets his stuff together.
The Lossoth, Indigeneity, Representation, and Antiracism.
Which is not what he said.
In Appendix A of The Lord of the Rings, we are told that Arvedwin, the last king of the line of Valandil.
I just realized I screwed up.
Oh no! Yeah, you didn't show the video. Well, does it have anything interesting going? Probably not, right?
It's a horribly done slideshow.
The Lossoth, Indigeneity, Representation, and Antiracism.
Wait, he doesn't full screen. Oh man!
In Appendix A of The Lord of the Rings, we are.
Well, to be fair, and it's not even on the screen.
This is the
for the
which is full of Tolkien scholars. These are scholars who don't know how to do presentations.
If I were to do a presentation like this, I would definitely fail one of my physics courses.
Oh, they probably deserve to fail, so don't worry about that.
Arvedwi, the last king of the line of Belandil in the north, takes refuge from the Witch King and the collapse of his own kingdom of Arthedain in Third Age in 1974 with the Lossoth. The Lossoth, described as the snow...
Because they said 1974, the last one.
Don't remember. To be fair, I already forgot everything he said, except that it's about the Lossoth.
With his own kingdom of Arthedain in Third Age 1974 with the Lossoth. The Lossoth, described as the snowmen of Foreshell, our northern polar area...
No, that's not an image of the Lossoth. That's something someone else made to what they think the Lossoth look like. But also, even in the image, the rightmost person looks white.
They both look white.
Well, the left one is a bit darker skinned, slightly.
Well, he's also mostly beard, and he's got face paint.
True.
And he's covered head to toe in every other area. So the only place of his body is this.
But it looks ever so slightly darker.
Well, yes, you can be a darker white.
Sure, yeah.
It's not white.
But it's not like the super pale white that people have in the far north.
Me.
Mm-hmm.
And my people are from the Mediterranean. Go figure.
Yeah, so that seems a bit weird, maybe. I don't know.
It is.
Indigenous people clearly modeled on the Inuit, Sami, or Nenets. David Day says of the Lossoth, they built their homes from snow, and in sliding carts and skates of bone, they crossed the icelands and hunted the thick-furred animals from which they fashioned their clothes. Robert Foster, in his Guide to Middle-earth, describes the Lossoth as primitive and poor, and both these are commentators sifting from the evidence that Tolkien provides in Appendix A. The Lossoth take in Arvedwi and his men after the defeat by the Witch King, partly out of pity and partly out of fear. Arvedwi lives in a short time in harmony and mutual assistance with the Lossoth. He even gives them the heirloom of his house, the Ring of Barahir, recognizing that they are kin enough to receive this ancient symbol of the Adain. Arvedwi is able to be intersectional, at least temporarily, and recognize the racial diversity of Middle-earth.
So being nice to people isn't being intersectional.
I mean, everybody would be intersectional if that was the case.
True.
So wait, and Eliza Farrell's.
Maybe we are all intersectional.
I think we just broke their minds.
Words can contribute their own worth. That the Lossoth know and feel situated on their own physical environment in a way Arvedwi does not, and he has wisdom to seek help from them, help save his life. Arvedwi, though, does not ultimately heed the advice of the Lossoth not to board the ship that will take him back south. The unnamed chief of the Lossoth says, "Do not mount on the sea monster. If they have them, let the seamen bring us food and other things that we need, and you may stay here till the Witch King goes home. For in summer his power wanes, but now his breath is deadly, and his cold arm is long." But Arvedwi does not listen and dies in a shipwreck in Third Age 1975.
That's called bad luck.
Arvedwi's poignant story is ultimately mobilized into the genealogy of Aragorn's kingship and a Númenórean restoration, paralleling how the indigeneity of the Lossoth is reinscribed into an avatar of colonialism rather than being valued.
Fun fact: Lossoth sort of literally means the crowd of snow, or host of snow, something similar. So, snow people. In Elven, of course.
In Sindarin, or?
Sindarin, yeah.
I might have known.
The story of the Lossoth reveals the tantalizing potential of diversity in Tolkien's representative world
John Franklin.
and a core
probably the doomed voyage of Sir, because the text says John Garth adduces the doomed voyage of Sir John Franklin in the 1850s as a source of Tolkien's representation of.
Okay, so that is what it
Well,
potentially
because
could be based
is
on.
like, I'm gonna go shipwreck and die like in the middle of the water or
Because
whatever.
he's the only person who ever did that.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Well, apparently Sir John Franklin in the 1850s did the same thing. So they're like, oh, he probably took it from this. I'm like, maybe he did, but I don't know if he did or not for sure.
I mean, that seems like a stretch, but fair.
They're Tolkien scholars.
Unless maybe this Sir John Franklin also went to the Inuits and sank after sailing away from them.
I don't know. It just says doomed voyage of Sir John Franklin in the 1850s. That's all it says. Maybe we'll get some more off of him, but I don't know.
Maybe he will say something about it.
Tendency for conventional valuations of whiteness and hierarchy to obdurately reassert themselves. Yet, as in the cognate role played by the people of Khan-Buri Khan in the War of the Ring, the momentary appearance of the Lossoth is still meaningful. This is particularly so as they are geographically positioned at the extreme north and west of Middle-earth, the two compass points that Tolkien elsewhere values as an analog for his own Europe. I contend that the Lossoth intermittently and incompletely operate as an internal brake upon Eurocentrism, and as an indicator that resistance to evil cannot be channeled through one model of identity, belonging, or power. Tolkien takes the Lossoth out of what might be called an axiological binary, a dyad of.
The fuck is an axiological binary?
Well, you know what a binary is, right?
Yeah, but why is it axiological? What does that mean? Axiological binary.
It has an axiom of some sort, I would assume.
Okay, Google is not helpful. Let's just agree it's nonsense and move on.
What was it?
Axiological binary. So he keeps talking about how the Lossoth are non-whites. Are the Dunlandings also non-whites?
No, the Dunlandings are like by Rohan, and they're notorious. I mean, they're not blonde like the Rohirrim is.
Because it says that the Lossoth are related to the Dunlandings.
Axiology is the study of existence. So I'm assuming he means that it's a study of the comparison of the Lossoth to Sir John, or not the Lossoth, Arveduy's and Sir John Franklin's doomed voyages, kind of a thing, or something like that. I'm not really sure what they're running with this. It's the philosophy, or axiology is the philosophical study of value. It includes questions about nature and classifications of values, and about what kind of things have value. I don't know what that means. Binary just means one or two. That's your options.
Yeah.
So I'm really sure what that has to do with this, at least so far.
I mean, it makes no sense.
Oh, we'll keep going.
Value, because they are clearly not evil, even if they live in what was once a part of more greater and torch realm.
He means the binary of good and evil, which is axiological because it is value-based. And the Lossoth are not on the good side, which is Arnor, but they're also not evil and on Morgoth's side. Well, Sauron at this point. Maybe. But that is maybe me giving this guy too much credit.
Possible.
Indeed, the Lossoth, as we have said, do their best to help Arvedui. And the limits of the help they could give him are also the limits of the Arthedain king's cultural sensitivity. But the Lossoth are still in an anthropological binary.
I think it was his sensitivity, like that plays any part of the entire thing.
Yeah, he just goes there because he has to flee or something. And why the fuck would the Lossoth giving him shelter be in any way dependent on his sensitivities.
You need to have caviar 3 meals a day.
Yeah, no, okay, that's fair. That's fair. He was a king after all.
They are seen as, despite having their own intuitive
Keyword was.
True, yeah.
wisdom, less noble and consequential than our Vedwi and his kind. What did Tolkien actually know about northern indigenous people? John Garth
Quite a lot, because he studied the Finnish language a lot, right?
Well, even if he didn't, it wouldn't make any difference because it's not like super crazy necessary to the plot.
And well, also there's not really a direct link. This is just a bunch of people who live in the north, which is cold, right?
Presumably.
They're called snow people.
The snow people of the snow hills.
Clearly, this is based on the Inuits, the Sami, and the Nenets. Yes.
Those are the only options, obviously.
Because no one else surely would live in the snow, right?
He couldn't do anything like, you know, what Robert Jordan does all the time, where he takes like 5 cultures and different civilizations and blends them together.
And also, it's of course entirely impossible to come up with something of your own.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, it must be based on those 3.
I was going to say you can stop there. It's just based.
Well, that's also true, but not relevant to the particular discussion right now.
The fact that this guy's on a square monitor is really hurting me.
Is it a square monitor?
That's why it's not full screen all across. It's not a 16:9 screen.
But wouldn't if you put a square monitor screen, record it, put it on YouTube, would it not go to the middle of the screen?
He's using it on a stream device, I think.
Oh. I mean, there is so much wrong with this, right? First of all, it's not full screen as in on the whole screen. But then also, he's not doing the presentation from full screen mode.
Slideshow mode, which is kind of weird.
Rory Lossoth, as being reminiscent of the interaction of the Arctic Inuit with Sir John Franklin and the men of his expedition.
So that's why Sir John Franklin's here.
Yeah. Also, we already saw that he's not very technologically inclined, let's say, from the very beginning of this video.
I thought all scholars had some inclination towards at least a presentation. I mean, a presentation is not that difficult.
It's not difficult, no.
He has the slides, so clearly he has the capability.
Maybe this is a social sciences thing. Maybe they can't do technology over there.
Depends on where there is.
Who perished in the 1850s. There were many European ethnographies that would have been available to Tolkien when young. Of these,
those are white.
Yes, but remember that's white lies. It's a lie that they were white.
No, you cannot go to where they live and see that they're white.
Yes, but that's the people who have been displaced as the indigenous peoples there, and they've been replaced by the white peoples because colonization and settler mentality.
And no one's colonizing the far north.
Well, obviously they are, because they're in Norway. Or Scandinavia. You're muted still.
Well, I mean, I didn't say anything.
I know, but you look like you're trying to, and I was just like...
No, I was just thinking about what to say.
That's dangerous.
I know. Could radicalize you towards the far right.
On the news for that. But okay. But I'm sure we'll find out in a second what that means.
Who were frankly racialist, not just in terms of seeing the Inuit as lower and primitive, but in denying them their very identity. In
they were more primitive because they didn't have the technology that was available to the more southern people.
And they weren't as learned either.
They lived in igloos instead of in houses, right? It's not as technologically advanced, I'd say.
I mean, I guess if they were living in the snow territory, it'd be more advanced probably than what we have down south.
Yeah. I mean, hunting is what they did usually. Nomadic.
I meant like
it's not a lifestyle that is conducive to technological advancements.
I was saying more like it's something that you like. If you build an igloo is basically designed to insulate the heat and everything.
Oh yeah, sure.
Like,
I suppose you could call that
technological advancement in the area that they're in. There's not a whole lot of options they could have gone up with, because like a cabin would probably leak way too much air.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
An igloo is going to be like much better, but I've always wondered, like, do they have like a cloth or something on the front that keeps the air from going in? Because I feel like that cloth would just get blown in.
I assume they do, because not having anything to block like open air from going in seems kind of stupid.
Yeah, but it also depends on which direction the wind's blowing and all that jazz. It's gonna be weird.
True.
A book, White Lies About the Inuit. It is revealed that Victorian and Edwardian narratives in the UK and Canada love to speculate about blonde Inuit populations.
No, of course they have black
Inuit
hair.
population.
I don't know why they would have blonde, but I mean, if they
No,
do,
they have black hair. So
well, no, that's what I'm saying. Is just like, if they had blonde hair, who cares? If they have black hair, who cares? Like, that's the saying.
sure.
Like,
I mean,
well, it's they're actually Rohirrim. Well, no, they're actually Gondorians, where they don't have blonde hair; they have black hair. And it's like, well, no, they're more Rohirrim. It's like, it doesn't freaking matter. It literally doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. He put
also
them in.
note how this is mostly UK and Canada thinking this. The rest of the world is,
The rest of the world doesn't have
doesn't care.
Eskimos. But yes,
No, Scandinavia does.
like I said, the rest of the world.
I mean, yeah, I suppose you could say that Finland might not be a real country, right? Maybe it doesn't exist.
I'm clipping this and sending it to Finland right now.
Often
No,
described
you know the meme, right?
evil
There's a 2% error on the population of Finland, but that's also more than the population of Finland. So there's a chance it doesn't actually exist.
I thought that was Australia that doesn't exist.
Well, that too, but for different reason.
Viking shipwrecks. Thus, in a 1920 book called Boy Scouts of the North.
I think, should I read this, or do you think he's going to read it?
I don't think he's going to read it.
Because I don't want to read it if he's going to read it, because I found out the hard way last time that in the first 5 minutes of this thing, he read basically everything I read.
Okay, maybe he is then. So what's wrong with referring to them as Boy Scouts? Is that illegal now?
I don't know. I didn't hear that part. 1 second.
Oh, Viking shipwrecks. Thus, in a 1920 book called Boy Scouts of the North, an Inuit named Sanak is described as
Are Vikings the Boy Scouts of the North or the Inuit? Because
he talks about both, so maybe
can I
both
help?
are. I don't know.
I have a hard time seeing a Viking go.
Maybe the Vikings are the real men, and the Inuits are just the Boy Scouts. Who knows?
Well, just like I have a hard time picturing a Viking going, "Ma'am, can I, little old granny, can I help you cross the ice path?" Yes, I got my badge sticker. Sticking it out. You like some Boy Scout cookies?
What a weird analogy.
It is a bit weird. I mean, nothing against Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, but I would be more impressed if they were like Spec Ops or something, you know?
different from any of the rest of his tribe. Sanak has blue eyes and hair and beard of a golden red. Similarly, writers such as Edgar Rice Burroughs and H. Rider Haggard specialize in finding
didn't
lost
realize that. Oh, damn. Maybe I should have said
where
that.
black people in actuality live. And H. Rider and Edward Tregear in the
It's the problem with the software, because the way everything is, like, I could have it set this way and then it'll just change it, but I think it changed it when I did the map and I made it a single big screen. So then I pulled this one up, but it's a totally different window, so it shouldn't have done that, but it did it anyway. So StreamYard is
really different for you than it does for me.
Huh?
Does StreamYards look different for you than it does for me?
I have no idea. I've only been on this side of it.
That's fair.
I would assume so because I'm the host and I have more buttons than you do.
Yeah, you
but
have more buttons, but surely that's just on the bottom some extra stuff you can click, right?
I guess I kind of have to. I'll find out new stuff all the time because they don't know themselves. It's
Ja, nee, dat is de andere.
and Maori tried to whiten the indigenous people of Aotearoa, New Zealand. Tolkien imbibed racialized representations of northern indigenous people.
Based on what?
I don't know if I like him saying Tolkien did said thing if he doesn't have
Mhm.
evidence of that thing.
Also, that doesn't seem to be the case, really. Because all we know about them is that they lived in the north, in the snow,
And they're indigenous, I guess.
and they were less technologically advanced than Arnor,
I guess the real
which
question
is descended from Numenor, the height of humanity in Middle Earth.
were they indigenous before or after they moved there?
Exactly.
Both? Well, I don't know.
You can't be indigenous if you have to move there.
Did they move there is the question.
I mean, that's typically how places become populated.
Well, yeah, sure, but somewhere has to be the first place they live, right?
Yes, but if that was the case, then everybody would come from that same spot.
No.
Could be.
That's kind of like why they have the whole Mesopotamian.
Maybe there's two spots where they came from, right? Just like how the dwarves popped up in existence in 7 different places. Well, it's not entirely 7. It's a
They were
few
kind of
bit less.
literally created into existence in this.
Yeah, but so were the elves and the humans.
Well,
Just not by outlet.
humans were kind of scattered, in a way.
Yeah, no, but the elves were the first who came into the world.
They were the first to wake up. Yes.
Then, well, wake up is maybe the key word.
It's described as a
Maybe
wake
they
up.
already existed and were simply put somewhere to sleep. I don't know.
As in, wake up is kind of like the symbolic term for like
Yeah. Okay,
come
fair.
alive, kind of a thing.
But the dwarves were literally waking up. They were put to
They were
sleep.
literally poofed
Yeah.
into existence. So yeah.
So the elves came from somewhere in the Far East, but
well,
we
far
don't
west.
know where. Well, no, east.
Or is it east?
It's east of the Sea of Rune, I think, maybe. Maybe it is the Sea of Rune. Who knows? They come from, well, far in the east somewhere. I'm not sure what the place is called.
The Far East.
Yeah. Humanity might have come from different places.
Yeah.
We don't know if they were all spawned in the same spot or spread out.
I don't think he's going to read this, but if it jumps, I'll go back and read
Yeah.
it.
But at least he valued, unlike the blind Inuit speculators, some measure of cultural integrity. But modern representations of indigenous people were not Tolkien's only conceivable source for the Lossoth. Adam Miyashiro, in a pivotal intervention, has analyzed the character.
In a pivotal intervention. It's pivotal.
Okay, but wait. Why does it necessarily have to be that they were 100% supposed to be the Sami / Inuit / Nennet stand-in in Middle Earth?
There's no reason for them to have to be.
Why? Yeah, but in the context of this video, right? They are supposed to be culturally accurately represented versions. As if you cannot just come up with the idea of people living in the snow in cold ice land by yourself.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Of Grendel and Beowulf as a proto-indigenous figure who unsettles Danish political and social authority. Building on Miyashiro's contention that the idea of indigeneity is pertinent to the world of Beowulf, I would add that even if the poet did not have knowledge of North American indigenous people, which knowledge would require a very late 11th century date for the poem, i.e. after the Norse voyages to Greenland and Vinland, There is nonetheless a possibility of actual indigenous reference in the Beowulf poem. Readers of Beowulf will remember the episode in which Unferth, as Tolkien calls him in Selic Spell, the unfriend at the court of Hrothgar, taunts Beowulf with the knowledge of his brash swimming duel with Brecca. In the duel, Beowulf is alleged to have conducted himself with unheroic showboating. Beowulf repulsed that he showed supreme bravery and stamina in the episode, not only slaying multiple sea beasts, but swimming all the way to Fennaland. It is tempting to read this as denoting, in ethnographic terms, the land dwelled in by the present-day Finns, the people of the Kalevala, the Finno-Ugric speaking Suomi. Yet the Roman historian Tacitus is said to have been speaking of the Sami, the indigenous people called by others Lapps when he spoke of the Fenni. The scholar R.W. Chambers, whose work Tolkien cited in his Monsters and the Critics essay, spoke of Sami cultural contact with the cultural traces of the people described in Beowulf. You could also bring in the Nenets people, also called the Samoyeds, who live up in the northeast corner of the map. In other words,
maybe this is why they took the ability of Galadriel to swim across the massive ocean because Beowulf did it at some point as well.
If Beowulf can do it, Galadriel can do it.
But also, why are we looking at a map of mostly the Mediterranean and not the actual Scandinavian parts where the Sami and the Suomi live?
If you check up here, you have the Fenni. I guess you wanted.
Yeah, no, but that's not Finland.
Yeah, but he said Fenni specifically.
Yeah, but the Sami live further north.
I would presume, because the current area he's in, if I remember from my Crusader Kings 3 time, that's kind of the area north of where Poland pops up, and there's not a whole lot there. I think Finland isn't there.
There's not a whole lot there, but there's Estonia, Latvia, and
Estonia is the northern part of that part right next to the water. But
it's if you see the little bay area on the top, that's where Estonia is.
Yeah,
and then you have the Latvians and the Latgalians in that
Shouldn't
area.
there be, like, water between Finland and
Yeah, there's water between Estonia and Finland.
That's a really weird place to put that with a question mark. But okay.
Yeah, I mean, well, most of it's theorized that most of the population of southern Finland came from the Estonia region. So, or the region that is near Estonia. Whereas the Sami lived further up north and went south and combined with those would be the Suomi, I think, the Finnish, combined into that new combined Finnish group, let's say. I'm not an expert, but I'm pretty sure that's how it happened.
It's pretty sad considering you're European. Anyway.
Indigeneity referred to on the periphery of the Beowulf poem itself. Thus, Tolkien's invention of the Lossoth as a northern indigenous people on the periphery of the Edain of Western Middle-earth was a calque not just of the world he knew, but the world of his scholarly archive. This is not to say that there could not have been possible influence on human reading of further people such as the Inuit, who after all had close contact with speakers of the languages Tolkien studied in Greenland. But the idea of northern indigenous people sharing continental space with people phenotypically Western existed both in medieval Europe and in the representative Tolkien's Third Age.
I was saying we've only got 4 more slides. We're not even halfway through yet.
Oh, damn. Well, no, there's a question bit at the end, so you could say maybe we're halfway through the presentation.
Always like 2 questions. It takes up like 4 minutes.
Oh, no, the last one had like 6.
It had 3.
Okay, fair enough. It seemed like 6, right? It took a long time.
Middle Earth. If, As
Felt like an
scholarship on
eternity.
Tolkien's Sigillara essays, such as Brian McFadden's, have reminded us that Tolkien's medieval studies included a somewhat problematic.
I think he says Tolkien sets up a contrast between Arvedui, who is willing to listen to indigenous people like the Lossoth, and Aranur, who listens to no one, even an elf of the renown of Glorfindel. And I'm thinking, like, but he didn't listen to the indigenous people because he left and died because what?
he didn't want. He wanted to sail anyway.
Against their judgment, which the people in the north who would be much more familiar with the temper tantrums of the weather. So they're like, hey, it's not safe, just stay here, and then when the Witch King leaves, then you can go back home and all's well.
Yeah.
Panic acknowledgement of black.
Well, no, I'm not sure. Maybe. Why is it important that they are of a different ethnicity, let's say? Because I'm assuming he assumes that. Why is that relevant to whether or not you listen to them?
They don't have a very white-sounding racial group name, so clearly they must not be white.
They're called Lossoth.
No, I meant the Inuit. Sami.
Oh, the Inuit, Nenets, or Sam, but we're talking about Middle Earth right now, are we not?
Yes, but that's who Lossoth is allegedly based off of. Remember?
But they use Sindarin, which is the Elven language. Clearly.
But that's not. Well, they use Sindarin, or
well, okay, fair enough. Maybe they don't, but their name is Sindarin, so.
Yeah, because remember the Silmarillion is the Sindarin viewpoint.
Not entirely.
Well, it's the history of the world through the eyes of the elves.
Yes, but the elves are not all Sindar.
I know, but I'm saying that there
In
might
fact, most of the Silmarillion is not about the Sindarin.
It's mostly about the Numenorians, you know.
It's also not mostly about the Numenorians.
I know.
It's mostly about the Noldor, which are specifically not Sindar.
Feanor, I'm looking at you and your kids. Even though a couple kind of cool, like Maglor was kind of cool.
True.
Except him being stupid at the very end, but that's a different story.
African peoples to the south of the
that's quite the failing.
True.
That's quite the failing. Like, never swear an oath on that. Just be like, yeah, I'll do it, but I'm not going to swear an oath on this because I'm not going to ruin our entire.
Yeah, just take the Galadriel approach.
Yeah, well, I mean, she wasn't technically of Feanor's bloodline either, thank God.
Well, no, but all the people who went swore an oath.
Yeah.
Except Galadriel, and maybe also not Galadriel's people. I'm not sure.
What, half Vanyar?
Well, no, they were pretty much all Noldor. But they were divided in like a few different groups.
Wasn't her mom a Vanyarian, though? Wasn't her mom a Vanyarian?
Yeah, but her mom didn't go along with the...
Well, I know. I'm just saying that she's not pure Noldor.
No, Galadriel's not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But the vast majority...
Where are you at in this conversation?
Well,
I'm like, yeah, but Galadriel's half Noldor. You're like, what? Yeah, but she's all, like, they're all full Noldorian. I'm like,
yeah, I'm not sure you said Galadriel specifically.
Yeah, well, because we were talking about Galadriel not following Feanor's steps.
Yeah, and then we switched to all of the regular people in the different hosts. Okay, they don't exist? Not important enough? Okay.
Only Glorfindel exists.
Fair.
world. There are also non-white indigenous peoples in the north, such as the Sami, Nenets, Dimitri Fimi, the most authoritative.
Those are more Siberian, which I think. Inuits, I'm not sure.
Because I remember Sami, I remember seeing on the map, and that actually takes up quite a bit of space up north there.
Well, yeah, but that's because of their projection.
Yeah. I apologize for the dog barking. Family just got home.
So, if I'm not mistaken, the Sami are the European north area. Nenets are probably more east of that, on the standards way the map looks. And the Inuits are more western towards the Americas.
Probably. I think the Inuits make it sound like they're more Western. The Sami would be kind of central, and then the Inuits probably a little bit different.
Mhm.
Grace in Tolkien notes that the Druidine, revealed in Unfinished Tales as related to at least the people of Khanbury Gan, are given, quote, childlike, close quote, characteristics. Feemy further notes that the racial taxonomy of the era into which Tolkien was born saw indigenous people as automatic and instinctive than whites. Arvedui's attitude to the Lossoth, in which he accepts their help, trusts them with his most cherished possessions, and even for a time genuinely listens to their advice, all the while retaining his own sense of cultural privilege and superior social status, is an example of what Robin Reed has called the invisible whiteness that often characterizes latter-day medievalism, including
Right.
Tolkien and
So you're
Tolkien's
just supposed to abandon your culture when you
Appendix A to The Lord of
others.
the Rings has received relatively little scholarly attention over the years. Before the published Silmarillion, Unfinished Tales, or the History of Middle-earth volumes existed, the appendices bore all the weight of the Tolkien reader's search for the granularity of what Tolkien himself called the vast backcloths of his world. Later on, stories not only more literarily compelling, but closer to the author's own heart, such as the stories of Beren and Luthien.
Do you have any comments?
Hmm?
Did you have any comments?
Well, I mean, it's. I'm not sure what to say, really. I mean, at some point he said something about how King Alfredui, or however the fuck you pronounce that, should have not stuck to his own cultural views or something, which seems a bit weird to me. So yeah.
I thought the whole point of this talk was to not abandon your identity.
No, it's okay when it's white people who do that, but not when it's the indigenous.
But we're talking about two white people groups.
Yes.
It's funny because every time we hear the term indigenous, we almost always, like 98% of the time, they're not white people.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
what about the places that are white people indigenous?
That doesn't exist.
Clearly, obviously.
No.
During Turambar and the fall of Gondor,
We're all
right.
in space. We came from outer space. Yes.
We landed like hell divers. Just
Mhm. Killed all the bugs that lived.
The appendix
the automatons. Don't forget that.
Well, no, they
material is fascinating, particularly that material set in the 20th and 21st centuries of Middle-earth in the Third Age. I contend, bolstered by Tolkien's use of near-future dates in the Notion Club papers, that Tolkien putting the fall of Arthedain in...
I love hearing the paper flip in the background.
Yeah.
You can tell he's reading off of a script.
Well, they all do.
Yeah, I thought they were more.
Well, no, we have already seen their presentation skills, right? Of course, they're not going to talk naturally.
They clearly don't know much about the topic, if that's the case.
A 20th century, given that the book was written in the 1940s, the near future date of 1975 was making an oblique point that Tolkien was considering issues germane to his own times. Tolkien sets up a contrast between Arvedui, who is willing to listen to indigenous people like the Lossoth, and Eärnur, the Gondorian heir to the throne at that time, who listens to no one, even an elf of the renown of Glorfindel. Which sets up genealogy for what?
If Eärnur listens to no one, that also includes his own people. So why does it matter that the indigenous people
because
are indigenous?
That's important because other people don't listen to and everybody else. Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
where Eomer dies
Almost
childless,
halfway
but
done.
Arvedwi's multiple great-grandson Aragorn gets to ascend the throne of both Gondor and Arnor. And in another project, I'm working on the gender and sexuality implications of Eomer's childlessness and its opposition to Arvedwi's fecundity. But we must remember Arvedwi listened incompletely, even though he...
Also, he pronounced Arnor as Arnor, which is interesting.
He has a lot of strange pronunciations, but I do find it funny that he's like, I'm working on this other paper. I'm like, is that going to be part of this other, like another day in this thing?
I don't know. Let's take a look at the list, right? That we have somewhere.
Because I don't think there's a double. I don't think there's a double up of presentations. And he said he was working on it, and this all happened like the same.
Oh
week.
yeah. Maybe that's for the planned for the next Tolkien
yeah.
Society.
That happened after 2021.
Yeah, I don't see his name in here.
You want to check? What's his name? Nicholas Birns, and just like check to see if he's done any other papers since then.
I can do that. Yeah.
Like, I'd say Nicholas Burns' Gender, Lord of the Rings, or something.
Nothing shows up other than the one we have right here.
Okay, well, he probably doesn't finish it yet.
Except, let's see. He is from New York University, and apparently, it says he has a bachelor and a master and a PhD, but it doesn't say in which category. Maybe that's further in the thing.
Probably basket weaving.
Could be.
Listen more than Eomer would have, and his failure to heed the Lossoth's caution about the ship led him to his premature doom. Tolkien's representation...
Basically, the indigenous people know better.
But wait, do they?
Of the Lost.
Well, apparently they do, because he wouldn't have died.
True, but in this particular case, I suppose.
I guess. I mean, if you're right once, you're always right, apparently.
Yeah.
Gives visibility to non-Europeans in a manner corollary to the actual historical situation of medieval Europe, which did have indigenous peoples, again, the Sami and the Nenets and the Inuit after the Viking voyages.
It makes it sound like people deny the fact that these people existed, rather than that they deny that they're non-white.
I think they deny that they're white, rather than non-white.
No. He thinks that we, reasonable people,
okay,
think that they're not, that we think that they're non-whites. We think that they're white.
Yeah, but that's because
they're indigenous, therefore they're...
This is a dilemma, because as we know, all white people are racist. But the Sami, Nenets, and Inuits are also whites.
They're clearly racist.
So clearly we must not count them among the whites and call them indigenous.
We haven't even gotten to the part where he talked about anti-racism.
What has this all been about then?
Well, no.
This is still indigeneity. Fuck.
We still have identity or whatever representation he mentioned is kind of like blended into this, but we haven't hit anti-racism. We only have 4 slides left.
On what it saw as its periphery.
3 slides, actually.
This forestalls the erasure of indigenous peoples. They're not being represented at all. And Tolkien certainly...
because it's not the center of the story.
It's not necessary for them to exist.
They live in the north, right? Yeah. And the story takes place in the south.
Well,
mostly.
The story does. Not the part of Arnor...
Well, the Silmarillion takes place in the far west, not near the Ice Bay of Thorokil. In fact, the Ice Bay didn't even exist in the Silmarillion, because Beleriand still was not sunk.
Silmarillion got sunk. But my point is that the Silmarillion kind of covers both continents pretty widely. With there is a main focus in certain areas, but it's
No,
actually,
it doesn't really talk about Middle Earth proper.
well, it talks about Arnor, Gondor.
Yeah, but that's like 3 pages.
It talks about Mordor. It talks about the stuff going on up by Dol Guldur. It talks a little bit about a lot of stuff, but the heaviest focus I noticed is the elves of like Doriath and stuff like that. It wasn't on the Undying Lands or anything.
And racist representation, saying these people don't exist, they're not worth being represented, or they're somehow Aryan, Maori, or blonde, Inuit, or not really different.
So this is the Silmarillion, right? This is all sort of appendix stuff. That's not important. I'm not sure if it's very visible. This bit, that's Middle Earth stuff plus Numenor. This is the majority of the Silmarillion. It's all about Beleriand and Aman.
Beleriand part of Middle
Earth? Yeah, but with Middle Earth proper, I mean specifically after Beleriand's no longer there.
Yes, but it still counts as Middle Earth because it's not the Undying Lands.
Yeah, but none of the human homelands are considered part of it. But there are a few humans living in Beleriand. They later got moved to Numenor, but it never talks about anything east of the Blue Mountains up until Arnor and Gondor, which is in the last bit.
Yeah.
And even the last bit takes place mostly in Numenor.
But nonetheless, the representation of the Lossoth is still encased in what Theme has called a hierarchical world. They remain marginal to the main action and personages of the text. As Tolkien himself admitted.
Well, they remain marginalized according to the text because there's only room they can actually talk about something. And
but also, they don't live in a region that is mainly targeted by Morgoth and Sauron.
Which, I mean, if they lived up there, not that far from Angmar.
Well, okay, sure, Angmar, but Angmar didn't really bother with them, I guess.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, why would if
because the Numenorians were the main target, and they lived south and came up north, and then Angmar.
True, but if you're pursuing the king of Arnor, or at least,
I mean, he didn't know they went to the Lossoth. I mean, who would go there, right? They're just the Lossoth.
Who in the Lossoth are going to actually be able to stop Angmar's armies, especially the Snow Hill Trows and stuff? Like,
probably none.
Exactly. So, wiping them out would do him no harm per se.
Mm-hmm. But also, they can't do any harm to him, so why wipe them out?
Well, they can harbor
because see, Sauron's goal was never to eradicate people, but to dominate.
Well, yes, but you got to. Well, he would probably force them into subservience.
Right, sure, but I mean, the Lossoth are not really important to the main story, right? The Numenorians are the threat, so maybe first focus on them, and afterwards go after the stragglers.
The stragglers.
In letter 151 to Naomi Mitchison, who was a woman of very different politics than Tolkien and might have been interested in these representational peripheries. Tolkien, though, tells Mitchison that Ice Bay of Foreshell was not cast for any significant part of the book, even as he had by that time envisioned its role in Arvedwi's end. Moreover, there is an extra twist in the plot here. As Jess Battis has pointed out, there is another people, the Perianath, called by some the Hlobitlan, even, so I hear, given the odd appellation of hobbits, who are themselves racialized. Since this racialization coincides with an autoethnographic authorial move to see the hobbits as like his closeted readers, there is a self-racialization, which by making the self other precludes genuine alterity. So,
okay,
in other
what
words,
does that mean? Why are they made other? What part of the hobbits are racialized?
Because they argue that they're brown, not white.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, I remember. The Harfoots are
Well, here's
mostly
funny.
not.
The Harfoots are a bit darker skinned, but
Yeah, but not really that much.
well, I know. I'm not saying that they're dark. Like it's again, it's the same play in like Wheel of Time. It's dark.
Yeah, exactly. It's root color, right?
Well, it's dark. A gnarled old root. It's like well, a gnarled old root could also be, not.
Very pale.
They could be very pale. It could not be very dark. But darker is not the same
Could
as
also
dark.
be orange.
Could be green.
Green, probably. Yeah.
If it's still alive, that is. If it's gnarled, probably not so much.
Probably less so. It would be more.
Assumedly.
Yeah.
Are cutely and goofily other.
Hobbits and Lossoth both are generally afraid of sea and ships. Both live in near-at-hand dwellings made out of the surround. Look at that, surrounding elements.
Yeah, very professional. Also, I would say hobbit holes are much more, let's say, well, they look a lot better than an igloo, right?
Well, presuming that they don't live in igloos and they live in like dug holes.
Unless these igloos are like hobbit holes and the inside is actually super fancy.
It says holes in the ground and snow huts, so they make it sound like they're in snow huts, not in igloos.
Well, igloos are snow huts.
Are they though?
Yeah.
Wouldn't a snow hut just be a hut that's in the snow?
Well, I suppose, but then they freeze to death, so that seems unlikely.
Maybe they could also pack up the sides.
No, but see, these are based on the Sami, Nenets, and the Inuit, so they must have been in igloos.
Both vainly give aid to Arvid. When do the hobbits give aid to Arvid?
Well, I mean, the hobbits live in the Shire, and they pay taxes, I assume, so that counts as aid. I don't know.
They don't come into play until like pretty late into the Second Age, right?
Yeah, but I think they're there before Arnor falls. Could be wrong.
Because they don't get affected by the war with Angmar.
No, because they're not. They're not on the border where the war is happening.
Yes, but all those places like Rudar, Birns, join Angmar at some point. Cardolin and Arthedain. I know Arthedain falls. I don't remember if Cardolin dies or not, because I remember the prince from Cardolin, I think, becomes one of Angmar's lieutenants.
Settled in the Third Age.
Oh yeah, so they got their way
1601.
very way late.
Let's see, when did Arnor fall exactly? Shire was part of Arthedain. Okay, blah blah blah. The hobbits were granted official permission from King Argelab II to settle in the Shire.
Oops. I can't spell.
Argelab, of course, being king of Arthedain.
All right, so the war in Angmar was a 675-year-long war. Hoy vey. Between the Dunedain kingdoms of Arnor, mainly Arthedain, and the forces of Angmar. The fall of Rudar, Arthedain, Cardolin, and Rudar.
Arnor was refounded by Argelab I. So the hobbits technically were there during Arnor's existence.
In 1409, Angmar annexed Rudar and launched a great assault that overcame Cardolin and resulted in the destruction of Amansul. Angmar was repelled from Fornost and was for a time subdued by reinforcements from Lindon and Lothlorien. and lost a war with Arthedain in 1851. However, the North Kingdom's strength continued to dwindle. In 1974, the end came. Fornos was captured and Arnor fell. King Eärnil II of Gondor, after receiving a quest for help, dispatched a formidable force commanded by his son Eärnur and defeated the forces of the Witch King at the Battle of Fornost a year later. Despite the victory of the allies in the field, the Dunedain of Arnor were so weakened that the realm could not be restored. Its remnants, however, continued under the leadership of the chieftain of the Dunedain.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I do like, because the adaptation in The Lord of the Rings, The Battle from Lord 2, The Rise of the Witch King, which is my favorite of all of them, just like
Okay.
Angmar is really fun to play. It tells a zoomed-in, thorough story of the evil Witch King's rise to power, domination of Angmar, invasion of the great kingdom of Arnor, and you actually do. One of your heroes is from Rhudaur, one of the hill tribes. You get snow trolls.
Oh, that's fun.
You get a whole bunch of
But those are weak because Galadriel can kill them really quickly.
Those are ice trolls, good sir, not snow trolls. Totally different.
I see. They look the same though.
But it's a very fun story. Like, for example, I'm trying to remember Morgamir's original history. He's one of the Nazgul, but he's a lieutenant of Karn Doom, the one-time captain of the Black Númenóreans, is the Witch King's left-hand man. Rules over the corrupted and evil men of Angmar with an artifice. It's like the Black Númenórean kind of thing. Yeah, so he's basically one of the bad Númenóreans and stuff.
Oh no.
I love his thing because he goes, "I am the first of the king's men," when he's referring to the Witch King.
Technically king, so correct, right?
Yeah, basically. But you get like a relatively
like an Aes Sedai lie.
Yeah, it's a relatively intelligent warrior troll, Rogash. He's fun. On the promise that they will reunite the snow and hill trolls. The three Angmar champions rush to the fighting trolls. The Witch King fulfills his promise to Rogash and unites them. He orders the foundation of the three mighty Angmar fortresses, while his armies eliminate the Black Númenóreans in the area, freeing other trolls in the presence. Soon after, a great army of Black Númenóreans arrive to eliminate the intruders, but the Witch King and his troll army easily overcome them, and the Witch King forces their allegiance to the Black Númenóreans, and Angmar is successfully founded. Then it goes into the fall of Rhudaur, of the group of hillmen rebelling against Arnor by Hwaldar, who is one of the champions you get. He's seized and arrested, but Morgamir recognizes a valuable ally to control the hillmen of Rhudaur. So the Witch King and his army eliminate the loyalists and recruit the rebels, and eventually they destroy the Dunedain guarding Hwaldar and free him. Then they attack the mighty Arnor fortress in Rhudaur, but the attack was successful on one fortress, weakens Angmar's forces badly, and King Argaleb I, Morgamir brilliantly trains the thrall masters to replenish the Angmar army and wipe out King Argaleb and his army, and then destroy the other fortress, claiming total control over Rhudaur. And then there's the invasion of Armen Sul and everything. Like the game goes all the way like to the Barrow Downs by Cardalin. Karn Doom, where you have to take on Glorfindel, Elrond, and the elves attacking Karn Doom. The Plague Bearer aspect, like there's all this cool stuff. Fornost. I love the story and campaign for that type of thing. Like it's really fun. But needless to say, we should probably finish this.
And that only takes
I can talk about it all day.
here.
Are hobbits afraid of the sea?
They're afraid of water because
Yeah, but not specifically the sea, right? They just don't like ships because they can sink.
the Brandy Bucks are familiar with the brandy wine, and they're considered queer folk because they the water.
But those are also still hobbits.
They're river hobbits, more or less.
Yeah, so this seems like a
but I'm saying
an awkward statement.
Well, they're a small percentage.
Oh, they're not. Okay, I thought they were bigger.
Well, I mean, they are big. Like they're.
Well, no, I mean in the population numbers compared to the Shire hobbits.
They might be, but they're not as. I wouldn't say they're the majority of all hobbits.
Yeah, not the majority, sure.
Just in that particular area, they are pretty well populated.
And prevents us from really glimpsing the other. This can be seen in two very specific details by which the hobbits in Lossoth
Also,
are parallel. Firstly,
are hobbits human? I'm not sure.
Or not a Dane human?
They're not a Dane, sure, but
They're similar, like they're like parallel to the line of men, but they're not from the line of men that I'm aware.
I mean, hobbits have always been a bit of a weird race in the setup of the races as per the Silmarillion, because they're clearly different from men. They're not elves, I think, yet they have the pointed ears.
Well, yeah, the pointed ears though that should pull them
And they're
away.
small like the dwarves. So, are they all of them mixed together? I'm not sure.
Yeah, the height, or they're smaller than dwarves. They have ears.
Yeah, a bit smaller, not by a lot.
Well, yes, but like where dwarves are like 4.5 to 5 feet, the hobbits are like 3 foot to 4 foot, if I recall correctly.
3 to 4 sounds correct. Yeah, I think dwarves were more.
Dwarves are a little bit bigger, but they're not
a little bit. Yeah.
5. Like
I think the dwarves average around 4.5, 4.3.
Well, again, dwarves are not like tall, and not short, but they're shorter than tall, and they're taller than short. So it's a very weird.
Saying hobbits are humans, that seems a bit too definitive.
I don't know what he has evidence for that. I know that they're supposed to be human adjacent, but
human adjacent, sure, but actual human,
they're never described, as far as I recall, as humans directly.
They both fear ships and sea. This both indicates that they understand the association with death the sea has in Tolkien, but also are shy.
It also has life.
Why would they not understand the concept of death? Are hobbits immortal? What?
Yes, because they're an amalgamation of all the other races.
Yeah, true. If they have some elfish.
Secondly, both the hobbits and Lossoth try to aid King Arvedui. Indeed, diegetically, the first thing we hear about Arvedui is in relation to the hobbits coming from the Shire to the Shire under his ancestor Argoleb II, and then Arvedui being succored by a band of hobbit bowmen in the last battle against the Witch King. Both hobbits and Lossoth, in other words, try to aid the nonetheless doomed Arvedui and survive beneath the king's power.
Yeah, because they live in fucking Arthedain.
This relativizes away
if Arvedui dies,
in the depiction of the Lossoth.
Arthedain dies, and they die.
A shorter, furrier version.
Why would you ever give aid to people who rule over your territory?
Yeah. No, that's fair. Because the colonizers, they must be sent away back to Numenor.
Back to your homes.
Yeah. Oh wait, Numenor is sunk, so that's not doable anymore. Though technically, I think there is a tiny bit of Numenor that's still above water.
Yeah, like the pinky.
Like the very top of the mountain in the center of the island. So maybe they can live there. Like build a little so there's
they built a floating city.
A floating city. Like a town.
It's all braced off of this little itty single piece.
Yes. That could be interesting.
White reputes. That being said, rendering non-white people as visible in the sphere of white domination without extreme.
Yes, but wait a minute. They
as
are
Tolkien did in representing the Lossoth is an
both the hobbits
enough?
and the Lossoth.
No.
I love this. Author of How to Be an Anti-Racist. Well, you know how you're not a racist?
Well, you're not going to be that by following Ibram X. Kendi, obviously.
I don't know who Ibram X. Kendi is, but
he is the one who said it's not enough to be not a racist. You have to be actively anti-racist, which means being a racist against white people. to counterbalance, right?
And everybody else who doesn't see blacks the ultimate minority group.
I think he is also very influential in critical race theory. Let's look up what books he did.
Racism has long been understood as a part of a person's identity. Not really. Like, if I'm not a racist, by default, I'm anti-racist.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not the thing.
But anti-racist means specifically against people that are racist in this case.
But I don't have to be an anti-racist to talk against racism in other people.
Yeah, not according to him though.
Well, I didn't realize the world of definitions and reason and logic all revolved around him, but okay.
Well, no, look at his picture, right? That should tell you enough.
Look, he's wearing a suit. He's marginalized, people.
Exactly.
He's hurting. He's an author of a book, however horrible the book might be, but he's in a horrible place because of this published book.
Okay, he's not actually as influential as I thought. He's just one of the more well-known people that came in later.
Yeah, he's probably a bit more prominent rather than influential.
Prominent, right. Yeah, that's the word.
Let's see how much this stinks.
It is not enough at all. The representation of the Lossoth still is inhabited by condescension, marginalization, because he only mentions them in this.
I like this. He notes if someone supports a policy disenfranchising black voters and is called out, their typical response is, "I'm not racist." Well, yes, because your typical go-to card is you're racist.
Wait, what does it say? Okay.
Which part?
Well, the first bit.
Racism has long been understood as a part of a person's identity, said Kendi, author of How to Be an Anti-Racist. So he noted,
lovely, yeah.
If someone supports a policy disenfranchising black voters and is called out, their typical response is, "I'm not a racist." Because
that's because they don't understand the difference between doing something because they hate black people, for example, or doing it because it evens the playing field for everyone, regardless of race.
Mertha says, if someone supports a policy that disenfranchises black people, it's something that black voters don't like, instantaneously you're racist if you do that. Because
I think he specifically means the things that favor maybe black people because they don't get benefits anymore.
That's what disenfranchise means.
Yeah.
Makes them unhappy with the situation. It's just like, well, yes, but that's every group. Nobody wants to be disenfranchised, and nobody wants people shooting down what they believe to be their good ideas. No duh. But if it's something that like solely benefits black people, it doesn't benefit Asians, it doesn't benefit Native Americans, it doesn't benefit Indians, it doesn't benefit South Americans, it doesn't benefit Pacific Islanders, it doesn't benefit white people. Everybody else is racist, except the black people. It's like, but what?
Yeah, because you can't be racist against white people, right?
But if you disenfranchise the Asians, the blacks aren't racist all of a sudden magically. And it's like,
no, because Asians are white, right? So
the Pacific Islanders, well, they're white too, apparently, and the South Americans, well, they're white too. Like everybody who's not from Africa is white. Funny joke. Most of these people in America are not from Africa.
One episode and white privilege. If, as Ibram X. Kendi has contended,
it literally describes what a person as being in any given moment based on what they are saying or not saying, doing or not doing. If I am not being racist and I'm not saying anything racist,
I mean,
it logically follows that I'm not racist.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose the argument that the term should be understood as a descriptor is correct, right?
I mean,
it describes a person's behavior.
I would be inclined to agree.
Yeah.
There are no racist or anti-racist.
I mean, it's not really a difficult concept, surely, right?
Well, for some
Wow, fair.
People, only racist and anti-racist acts or policies, it might be plausible to say it is the racism or anti.
anything and everything I don't.
But I think okay. So what he's saying is you can only be. He disagrees with the fixed categories. So that, for example, yeah, I see. Being racist, he says, is dependent on what you do. So if you do something like support a policy disenfranchising black people, then you're automatically racist because of your behavior,
Well, but
and
according to
therefore,
it's not just what you're doing; it's what you're doing or not doing. So if you're not defending them,
true.
you're racist. I'm like, or I'm just not there. Or I think it's bad policy because it'll collapse the economy, just giving out freebies forever and ever, amen. You know.
I suppose maybe it's still wrong because it should be motivation based rather than just behavior.
Most people's, I mean, I don't know how you guys do it in Europe. I don't even know if you guys have rights, but
Yeah, we do, just not the same ones.
none of the good ones.
Yeah, well, a few of the good ones, but
Guns?
not guns. I
You
said
don't
a
got-
few, right? Not all of them, just a few.
Well, guns is only one, and you don't have it, so you suck already. Anyway,
That's fair.
For something like, if I like people group, like I'd assume you and your town, your region. I don't know how you guys are divided up in your own country, but if you are by
Towns,
voting,
I guess, works.
well, whatever your region is, your town area or whatever it might be, village, I guess. You guys still live
Well,
in
it's a village, and technically some surrounding villages are also part of it. But
which
yeah.
makes a town, but yes. But in whatever territory you have, if you had options between several things that could be passing in Parliament or whatever it is you have there, you're obviously going to vote for the one that benefits you and the area around you. But if it doesn't benefit
Though
the
ideally, you would also maybe do the things that would be just or correct or good in itself, right? But that's
your main
not
goal
what people usually
as
think.
a person that lives in the area is to make sure that you and yours are taken care of.
Yes.
That might benefit some people, it might not benefit other people. But your goal as a voter or however you do things over there is going to be based upon what you could actively do. So if you actively vote for something, if I don't even know if you guys have voting, but
We do. Yes, that's one of the good rights, I suppose. Wow, you see,
I consider it a bad right, but that's a different story for another time.
that's fair. It's better than not having a say at all.
Democracy's only good when it's satirical. Just saying.
Yeah.
For democracy. But sorry, hell divers.
Yeah, but that's managed democracy. That's different.
It's all the same, dude. It's all the same. You think you don't have managers of democracy?
Oh, we do have managed democracy over here. Yeah, sure.
You don't have super Earth. You only have a planet.
We don't have proper democracy. Let's call it.
You don't have proper anything. Well, I should say you have proper weaknesses. There's that. But essentially, if you're like, I want this to benefit my area. I don't want to collapse the economy in my area. I want my monetary values to go up, and I want the loss of wealth to go down. I want people in poverty to go up, and I want people up not to go down, because if they go down, then so does everyone else around them. That's basically everything.
That makes sense.
So he's basically saying if you do something like vote away, a program that might help people in poverty or whatever, you're racist because there might be a black family involved. And it's like, but if that program were to destabilize the region, it's a bad policy.
Or overall, take people down on other
more people into
areas,
poverty,
right?
not out of poverty. If it's not going to actually do you favors, but it just means you don't have to work, that's a different story. Then
I mean, it's nice to do that for yourself, right? But of course, it's not
again,
the right thing to do.
self-preservation from one end. So like you would vote for what's good for you and your family immediately,
Mhm.
but you also, for any logical, reasonable person, would vote for something that's good for the town as a total because that's where you live. Like if the town goes down, so do you. Same thing with the hobbits and the fight against Angmar.
Yeah. So obviously they help the king.
If Arthedain goes down, you're gonna go help Arthedain because you don't want to die. That's
Mhm.
pretty logical in that regard. But in that type of thing, it's like it makes logical sense. But he's sitting here like, well, no, if you don't support us, like we're the main characters of this territory, you're not the main characters, even if they're not indigenous and you are indigenous. Like it's funny, it's like if America originally had white people in it, there were no Native Americans or anything. And then people came over here and turned it into a melting pot. They would be trying to squish us as an indigenous people so quick and hard. I don't know why I say us. I'm not indigenous to America.
Well, I mean, you could. Well, no, you were born in Canada, right? So that.
I was born in Canada, but my family's not from this side of the ocean.
Yeah. But
So
does that matter? At what point do you become indigenous?
I'm practically African, so. I am also an honorary Bulgarian, which is always fun.
Yeah, interesting combination.
Well, Bulgarians like me for some reason. I don't know why, but I like them too, so it's all good. But yeah, like I think this entire thing is kind of silly because.
Yeah, of course, it's Tolkien Society stuff.
Well, yes, but I'm saying it's Ibram X Kendi in general. Like the whole concept of if it doesn't benefit me, you're racist. It's like imagine me going to anywhere and doing that for like anything. Like, what if I go to Japan and said, "Well, I'm the minority here. You have to benefit me."
They were also bad because they're an ethno-state.
I know, right? And then Korea, ethno-state, China, ethno-state. It's almost like everywhere in the world is an ethno-state except for Europe. Freaking
yeah, wow. Almost as if we're super cool and
it's not super
tolerance.
cool. Super different. We are the minority of the world in terms of policy and stuff.
Wait, does that mean we get benefits?
I wish.
Of course
we're
not.
the wealthy ones over here. You guys are
We're the ones giving it away.
Racism of readings of texts, which is more of a live question for us than the racism or anti-racism of texts in themselves. This is so even though texts are not people, and the most anti-racist reading cannot make an anti-racist text out of Birth of a Nation or the novels of William Gilmore Simms or Thomas Nelson Page, or that anti-racist readings can only work with what they have. But they can arguably problematize the racism within those texts. With respect in particular to indigeneity, nothing in Tolkien truly speaks to the condition of indigenous people or helps those people to be heard.
No, because it literally does not matter.
They're not a main part. So if they played a main role, then we would hear more about them.
Yeah, but also it simply doesn't matter whether they're indigenous or not. The people living there, it's their home. Right. If I move over to the Ice Bay of Furkel, for example, and live there for a few years and consider it my home, why would I be less allowed to consider it my ancestral homeland or whatever than them?
It would be your ancestral homeland.
Well, for my children, I guess.
Your ancestors were the ones who went there, not you.
Yeah. But
then in that situation, everyone who's never moved and is sedentary by default is an indigenous population. That's just, it's the silliness of it all.
In our
like a super arbitrary thing to focus on.
Yeah. You're almost there.
Totally.
Yeah.
They were very moved upon the release of the film by Peter Jackson in 2001 The most poignant moment for them.
It's from New Zealand, that's why.
Ah, I see. Now they know how to make text readable over there.
Well, half of it's in English, half of it's not. But they.
Well, yeah, but maybe it's the
I'm
resolution, right?
sure he'll give us an actual translation of this to explain.
I mean, I can read it. It's just really annoying because it's like blurry almost.
Oh well, it says, "Hey, Mahi, Nui,
Oh yeah,
Hoki."
no, I can read it, but it's annoying to read.
I have no idea what it says.
I have no idea what it says. I don't speak Maori, but yeah.
Little Maori words in the credits. This multilingualism.
But why is this important?
Is Maori the same? Or I guess are the Maori the ones who landed in New Zealand?
No, they're the indigenous population.
Oh, okay.
But also, they probably landed there because they're seafaring.
I thought, like, is it the same thing? Is it different? Are they different peoples? Because I see Kiwis that are white, and then I'm like, well, that means they're not indigenous, apparently. So
yeah, that's how that works, I guess. Maybe.
I don't know. I've never been there. I've never got really. I mean, I know one person from there. That's.
I mean, it's a fun language, but I don't speak it.
It's not the language that's fun. It's the accent.
That's also fair. Yeah. But basically, the Maori lived there when the English came, and then they took the land, and now it's.
As you do your imperial conquest.
Mm-hmm. But the Maori, I think, lived mostly on the Northern Island, and the rest of it is now settled with English people, I guess, because New Zealand is like two islands that are sort of on top of each other. That's a very not clear description, but let's go with it. So like half of the population is still, well, maybe less by now, is still Maori, so they have a multilingual system. So obviously, if they do stuff in English, then there's also an indigenous language equivalent next to it.
Yeah.
It's like how if you go to Japan, almost all the Japanese text has an English bit under it in the big cities.
Well, that's mostly for tourism and stuff.
That's mostly for tourism, sure. But in this case, it's the same, but for the native population.
Yeah. The dual native population.
Yeah, it's like Belgium, right? There, everything's in Dutch and in French.
Not English.
Not English. No.
Tolkien's invented language.
Well, maybe if you go to Brussels.
Sprouts. Sorry, it's a joke.
Proposed, but obviously, as Sue Kim's works reminds us, did not parallel or coincide. Similarly, representations of racialized others in Middle-earth remind us of the real thing, but they do not.
What did the Maori have to do with the Lossoth?
They're indigenous as opposed to like people who are.
Oh, okay. So just because they're also indigenous to a different place, that matters somehow.
Yeah, because when you're indigenous as an indigenous people group, you by default are greater than all other civilizations for some reason.
Yeah, I can get behind that. That would make me.
The presence of the water
makes you inferior, good sir. Sorry.
No, because I'm indigenous to my own region.
No, you're not.
Yeah, I am.
No, you're not. Your people stole it from somebody else. Just like all the other indigenous people.
Fair, yeah.
Lossoth from the third age of Middle
That
Earth.
is a good point. At what point do you become indigenous, right? Do you have to wait like 100 years?
Whenever you feel like
500s? I don't know. Okay.
The polycultural, polylingual world that Sandra R. Stabhar sees exemplified in the mixed marriages of the Gondorian kings and the northern wild men of Brovanian. And this is all in Appendix A. Indeed, if you look at those 500 years from 3rd Age 1500 to 3rd Age 2000 in Appendix A, it's replete with racial signifiers. You have that paradox, particularly the supreme one, Anga Maita and Sanyakando, the great grandsons of Tarkastamir, who flee to the south.
Still talking about the Middle Earth? Or?
but they claim a greater racial purity than the Gondorian kings who have intermarried with wild white men of the north. But then their descendants, or whoever are the Corsairs of Umbar in The Lord of the Rings,
we're talking about Umbar.
3018, 1,000 years later, are among the most racially othered of the peoples of Middle-earth. And that is a very interesting paradox. This is a point Tolkien reiterated in one of his last letters to Richard Jeffrey just 8 months before Tolkien's death. What Robin Reed calls the growing awareness of racism as systematic and institutional should not exculpate Tolkien's text from responsibility for the faults and limits of their racial representations.
But
this awareness does allow for acts of reading, hopefully ever more scrupulous and granular and culturally attuned, that will allow us to try to listen more to excluded voices than our Vedwi last king was able to do in 1975, Third Age. Let me now unshare my screen so you could see me once more. Stop sharing. And I just want to thank you for listening. And again, I want to honor the Lenape people whose land I am on now, and to encourage people to read, along with Tolkien, read Indigenous writers. There are many in North America, Australia, New Zealand, writers as well. Enjoy both. Many thanks.
Thank you very much, Nick.
I'm just going to talk over this guy now.
To ask questions.
Of course, this
paper that's been really lighting up as well. So I think a lot of people really enjoyed that talk. So thank you very much. Okay.
So, you're back. Okay. Yes.
Anything of useful?
Yeah. So he said some stuff.
It's
been a minute, probably. I don't know.
Doesn't this picture look great?
Yeah. It's wow.
It's like, ah.
Mm-hmm. He's about to get overrun by that boat.
Let me tell you the song of my people.
But yeah, so apparently, because racism is institutionalized now, we are not allowed to say Tolkien should not be blamed, I guess, for that in his work.
We're not blaming him for his racism that he has internalized.
Yeah. We can't not blame him just because it was institutionalized back then, apparently. Which is, of course, nonsense, right?
Like how this guy is completely, blatantly racist?
Yeah. No, but it's allowed if you're on their team, I guess.
That's how racism works. If you pick the wrong team, that's when you're in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Were they going into Q&A?
You notice his apology for being on native land?
Him?
Yeah.
When was that?
Were you back then already or not? Just before the end. At the end, he says, well, I don't remember, but...
how far back? I can go back.
Not very far, just before this guy starts talking.
Right about here?
No, before he switches to this screen. Right about now, yeah.
5, Third Age. Let me now share my screen so you can see me once more. Stop sharing. And I just want to thank you for listening. And again, I want to honor the Lenape people whose land I am on now, and to encourage people to read, along with Tolkien, read Indigenous writers. There are many in North America, Australia,
and good ones,
those writers as well.
You should read them irregardless, or regardless, I guess is the problem.
Yeah, regardless of whether they're good or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Wanui people, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, is apparently where he lives, on their land.
Well, why isn't he giving it up like a good little boy and
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But they never do.
Because he's a racist. That's why.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
He enjoys the misery of those whose land he
occupies illegally.
Well, it might be legal, but it's illegal to them. It's legal to him.
Yep.
He wants to hear the lamentations of their women.
Anyway, I'll be right back as well. So
I'll re-go through this stuff that I missed.
Sure.
So.
I said some stuff, but I couldn't pause it, so I had to talk over them. So I may have missed stuff. But,
we can recover it when you get back if you want to.
Sure. So it shouldn't take too long.
Okay.
And enjoy both. Many thanks.
Many thanks, Bob.
Thank you very much, Nick. Okay, yeah, we're going to dive straight into some questions for what really a paper that has been really lighting up the chat box as well. So I think a lot of people really enjoyed that talk. So thank you very much. Okay, so
because they didn't enjoy the previous ones as well.
let's get down to it. So first question. Others have...
I might actually wait for this one because I don't want Sage to miss out on the questions. But from what I gathered, like for some reason he singled out the Lossoth because he's such a charitable soul, I guess, and is just a person who cares or something. I don't like this false virtue signaling kind of thing. Like, if you did something actually grand, like you saved their people from like falling into the sea because a cliff collapsed or something, or an avalanche or whatever, it's like, okay, well, in that case, then yes, you can virtue signal because you did something good. But if you're like, oh, look at me, I did all this really cool stuff, blah, 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 then what's the point? Like, you're saying all this stuff, but you won't even practice it. Like, oh, I want to apologize for living on this territory that belongs to somebody else, but instead of actually giving it back to them and moving away to somewhere else, I guess, he's just going to keep staying there. Like, he's not going to change or anything, but there's just so many things that can be said about this, but hopefully these questions and answers, Q&A, I guess.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, perfect timing, because we're just about to get Q&A, but I didn't know if you wanted to cover a little bit more of your rant you gave while I was away.
Well, it wasn't really that big of a rant.
Well, do you think it's going back?
I think I said most of it.
Well, I mean, do you think you want to re-say it just in case I didn't hear you?
Sure. So, just before you left, he said something about that we now understand racism as being institutionalized and what's the word? Whatever they say to make it so that it's because of the law rather than individuals.
Or systematic.
Systematic, yes, that's it.
There's only so many ways you can be stupid, so I mean, there's only a couple words.
So because of that, I think the idea is that maybe Tolkien didn't know any better because he lived back in the old times where everyone was, however, he still said we still shouldn't not blame him for the way he portrays minority characters in The Lord of the Rings, for example.
Those minority whites, you mean?
Yeah. Well, they're not Arnorians, right? So they are a minority, I guess. But that is probably taking the European ethnic view rather than the American.
Probably. I mean, I don't know why he would even think of America at all in this entire legendarium.
Probably not, because why would he? Yeah.
Well, he's England. He's not America, so that's one reason. But we are about to hit we're on the first question right here, but apparently the chat box has been lighting up because all them racists ready to be racist are about to race.
Exactly. Nice.
So I guess we will go about our business doing that.
Mentioned this in the chat, but I was wondering if you had looked at the representation of the Lossoth in the online video game Lord of the Rings Online.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's a fun one. But
I love Lotro in a lot of ways. I don't. You're muted, by the way. But
yeah, I was talking to some other.
I love Lotro in many, many ways. I used to love the fact that they would stay true to the legendary.
Yeah, they haven't recently. That's true.
They kind of parted ways, if you will, with the lore and kind of whatever they felt like they wanted in because reasons. And it's one thing for a player character to look different or to be different or like have a really super tall dwarf that's like 6'10".
Well, I mean, tall dwarves are maybe out of the question.
Well, I'm saying
Because
like,
then why play a dwarf, right?
well, I'm saying because you want stats or something. But like,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I'm just saying like if you yourself played a crazy non-lore character, I don't think anybody's going to fault you because you're just having.
But the NPCs should definitely be.
Playing in a world that is part of a setting, that setting and that world should be essentially a part of what the experience is because you went to Middle Earth, you didn't go to London, you didn't go
Did we
to
not?
New York. I mean, it feels like it now, but we didn't go to Africa, we didn't go to the Middle East, we didn't go to Europe, we didn't go to South America, we didn't go to North America, we didn't go to Asia, we didn't go to Australia. We went to Middle Earth. And in Middle Earth, the people groups should be represented as they are represented by Tolkien. If you don't like that, then you shouldn't play it and you shouldn't read it. You shouldn't claim to be a friend or an ally of anybody who's an actual Tolkien person, and you definitely shouldn't be a fan of J.R.R. Tolkien because you don't like his stuff. You hate his stuff because you want it to be changed to some other image. So that doesn't make much sense in that regard. But nice flickering lights.
Yeah, someone touched the light button over there. So.
Where are they?
Whether it was a sensitive portrayal.
Are you an entrepreneur who's not?
Oh, nice.
I'm gonna take care of that real quick. Because...
Anyway, yeah, when was it that they did the update where all of the skin color restrictions and stuff went away?
Are you referring
I think
to?
That's Lord of the Rings Online. Recently is maybe the wrong.
It's
a few years ago, but at some point they did an update to all of the visual stuff. After they added a new separate dwarf species.
They were doing some weird colorization stuff. Let me see if I can find it.
I think it might have been 2022. I'm not sure.
The game dropped a planned feature for in-game player marriage because of the controversy around the possibility of same-sex and interspecies weddings. That was in 2007, though.
2007.
Yeah, that was 2007.
Damn.
Let's see.
No, but they added a new dwarf species at some point. I don't remember when. I want to say early 2020s. But after that, there was a new update that changed all the racial stuff.
Apparently, there was
that's when it really went downhill.
There's a loot box issue or whatever. Was there another one? I don't. Oh,
Okay,
the human customization was last year.
And was that last year? Damn.
2023.
I thought it was a bit earlier.
I think it's because you could put beards on women that weren't dwarves.
Ah, I see. Yeah, that could be it.
If I recall correctly.
I also think all of the skin colors went darker.
Yeah, they also were like forcing people to have different like
And
stuff not be
additionally,
optional.
I think it also.
Keep in mind though that was from what I recall, and I could be wrong, but what I recall because it's been a while since I've heard this, but I could be wrong. But it was on a test server they were doing this, and it was not popular at all. I don't think they ended up making it official,
I'm not sure.
but I haven't played in
I
a
haven't
hot
played it in a while. Yeah.
Yeah, I joined somebody's guild and we played, and then I'd get off and get back on and play sometime, and then
Mhm.
eventually I got back on. I just wasn't in the guild anymore. I was like, alrighty then, I guess that's
Yeah, I mean,
that.
that makes sense because the guilds are limited in how many people they can accept. So.
Yeah, but we didn't have that many people in the guild to begin
Oh,
with,
okay. Well,
and I mean,
it
like,
was not one of the bigger.
let's say if it was a 50 cap, which I think it was much higher than that, but if it was a 50 cap, we were at like 12.
I see. Yeah.
we weren't
No, I
exactly.
joined the guild as well. I'm probably not a member anymore. Who
We
knows?
should just make our own guild and just do that.
I could, but I think there's also a in-game money fee attached to that. So maybe that's only if you have a guild hall.
I think it's the guild hall. I don't need a guild hall per se. I mean, I like guild halls. Like in Guild Wars 2, I have a guild hall, and
Mhm.
it's almost maxed out. And we have like 53 players,
Mhm.
as opposed to like 250 or 300 in other people's. But like,
Then again, do I want to play Lord of the Rings online again?
I mean, I kind of do because the
I mean,
nostalgia reasons.
true, but if they change it as much, oh,
Well, they can't change the character I have now, so there's that. But um, I just get frustrated with their missions because it like tells you like the landscape on the map. Like here's where the thing's taking place, but then you like
yeah,
it takes like an
then-
hour to do whatever
Exactly.
that stupid little area is. It's so annoying. But yeah, anyway, enough with Lotro aspect. We'll
yeah, we were doing a video, right? It
yeah,
disappeared.
we're gonna do this.
So did he mute himself, or is that
Oh,
on your end?
I did that because of the ads. My apologies. Okay, let me back it up a little bit.
I have not. I have actually never done Lotro. I am aware of
color me
Lotro,
shocked.
and
Wow,
when
wow.
this topic was announced,
He's not a real Tolkien fan, guys.
Also, damn, he's. It sounds like he's almost screaming at the mic.
He is, and he's looking totally in a different direction as well.
Yeah, that's because he has to look in the same direction as the boat for some reason.
Well, that's where they're going. I'm just this image with his face like that and with the ship gives me the whole like screaming cowboy feel. If you remember that meme, I don't know if you remember.
I'm not sure which meme you're talking about.
It's some older dude in like a cowboy hat that's like pictured in the sky above like plateaus and areas and stuff. He's going,
Oh, that one. Yeah, yeah. But, I suppose there is some resemblance. The position is a bit awkward in comparison, but fair
it was
enough.
definitely a professional deal.
people told me on Twitter that there was a representation, but I have
so
not.
he's on
I was
Twitter a lot.
interested in what people say. I did too. I have a
This guy's never going to play video games. Just saying, it's not going to happen.
follower, Neocon Sally Rooney Stan, whoever that is on Twitter, who did mention that, and I replied to that follower that the stuff I'm interested in Tolkien recently, like Eornr and the Lossoth and Angamaita and those.
What?
I think he was trying to pronounce Eanu, but it went very differently.
I think he's from the northeastern side of America, so he doesn't have very good speech.
Yeah, that's fair.
Checks out.
People show up more in video games than in the criticism. And part of it is what I said in the talk, that this is mainly world building on Tolkien's part. It's stuff he does to flesh out the lore.
But it's world building. It's not the main storyline. That's the point.
I mean, he probably knows exactly what happens with the the Lossoth, but it's just not part of the story because they live in the wrong place.
Well, like, what happens to the Dinlitings? Well, this, that.
But we don't care because they also live in the wrong place.
Yeah, but then you also have like what happened to the rebellions in Rune and Harad.
Not relevant because we don't go there.
Exactly. It's assumed that when Aragorn subdues the Haradrim and makes
That they switch to the good side, yeah.
well that the rebellions kind of become the localized government or whatever, because the good guys end up becoming winners. But it's like we don't know. It's not integral to the Lord of the Rings storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
but this guy doesn't understand that. He
Yeah,
doesn't know
I don't
how
think he understands
stories
very
work.
much, despite having a PhD, masters, and bachelors and everything.
Well,
That clearly did not help him in the intelligence department.
clearly not. Yes.
Sort of
But
the way-
again, did you see what Otis said in the Discords about how the average IQ of people at university is now only 102, whereas before it would be in the 130s.
I'm scrolling up, but it's a long scroll up to get to where he talked.
No, it's in the White Cloaks Discord.
Oh no, I did not see that.
In history.
I have not seen that. No, but I would suppose that he probably gave him a good tongue lashing. But I honestly am surprised it's that high. I'd suppose it would be less than like 70.
Well, no, but this is all fields, not just the social sciences.
Yeah, it should be in the
So-
70s. Because anybody dumb enough to go to college instead of like a tech school, it takes a special level of stupidity to do that.
Well, I mean, university, does that count as college? Is that the same thing over there?
It's the same as university and college are the same thing.
Fair.
It's a money sink, or as they call it in the gaming,
Yeah.
a gold sink, and the return usually is long term, and you don't hit that for like 10, 15 years until after you started in it, and then
You don't hit it ever if you go to the wrong.
Also if you're in the wrong region without having that job available.
True, but then you can move theoretically, right? So
you could, but like in America, for example, architects. One of my buddies is an architect, but he's never once worked in the architect industry, even though he went to school completely for it.
Ooh.
So
why not? Do you not build buildings over there?
Well, architects are not construction workers. They don't build them. They design them.
They design it, sure, but someone needs to design the building the construction workers are going to build, right?
There's only so many positions.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Because
is architect a thing too many people study?
Well, yes, because there is a need for architectural people because you got to have the buildings designed.
Yeah, but I didn't know that was specifically a field that had too many people studying it.
Apparently, when he went in, there wasn't a flooded version. Like, it wasn't completely filled. Then when he graduated, it was filled. So he never got the chance to even really step into it.
Yeah, no, that's unfortunate timing then.
Well, it's just the unfortunate reality because, like, if everyone goes...
Yeah, no, exactly. It's the same with psychology. Everyone goes there because it's easy, relatively, right?
But then flood the market, all people working that.
No, to be fair, maybe nowadays with everyone needing therapy and stuff.
This is true, but I'm saying, like, if everybody goes to school to be an English teacher and the physics teachers are what they need, well, then you're going to have only a couple people becoming actual English teachers because they only have so many slots. If they have 100,000
slots, no, I know the concept.
And they have a huge demand for physics teachers, but everyone's going to be an English teacher, then you're going to probably...
To be fair, English is a lot easier to teach than physics.
It is. And physics teachers usually get paid a lot more because they're in high demand. They need them in all these places. And, like, where I live, there's, like, 4 states all fighting over the same graduates, basically.
Nice.
And I think it was a year or two ago, they only had 1 graduate in physics in the area I was in. Because nobody's taking it. But there's a huge demand for it. So
I wonder whether this guy's PhD /master/bachelor is useful. Probably not, right? I'm guessing it's one of those gender studies type studies.
Basket weaving, something dancing.
Interpretive dancing, yeah.
Yeah, interpretive basket weaving dancing or something like that. Underwater.
Underwater basket weaving, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
He is still in the early 1950s, just before it's published, suturing The Lord of the Rings with the earlier Silmarillion material.
Look how aggressively he talks.
Doesn't pay much attention to it after. Later, he goes,
I'm getting Princess Bride vibes from him, like hardcore. But I can't take him seriously because his lips literally stick out.
Yeah, and his head is half disappearing into the background.
I don't mean to pick on him for his appearance, but it is quite
No, it's his
clashing.
way of talking, right? He doesn't do that all the time. It's just because he's aggressively trying to pronounce stuff.
It's his normal voice. It's the way he talks. I'm not trying to pick on him or anything. I'm just saying it's very distracting.
my background is Aldarian's ship going to.
Also, it doesn't help that he has his camera like this. Blah, blah, blah.
Well, it doesn't help that he's not looking at least in the general direction of the camera. Because like, even if I'm looking at the screen, I still look.
I have no idea what he just said because I couldn't focus on.
Oh, he's talking about the painting behind him and what it's related to and everything.
Oh, okay. Why?
We're about to find out.
Aldarian and Arendis, he does stuff which is a lot more abstract and literarily powerful and less world building-y. So I think
he's talking.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
descriptive about stuff that's not as.
It's it's the stuff about in the video game. More areas are mapped out than we see in the Lord of the Rings because obviously it's not part of the story, right? But it is part of the world building, so Tolkien probably knew exactly what was going on in Forokel. But yeah, nice.
The fact that the Lossoth are being portrayed in video games, they are picking up on that world buildingness. But I think we have to pay attention to it on a literary level precisely because it is in that Appendix A material where he really does simulate the reality of a Europe which has all around it. Europe really being this tiny peninsula jutting out from Asia and Africa.
That was loud. I'd say actually that's false. I wouldn't say it's a tiny Europe as much as a tiny England. Like, I don't know why people keep trying to pull away from the fact that Tolkien.
I mean, Europe is still quite small.
It's not that small. It might not be
compared to the other continents, right?
To what continent?
Africa.
I mean, Africa's. It's actually the map is not accurate from what I understand. The actual size.
No, Europe is displayed larger than it actually is.
Yeah, and
Africa
that might
be smaller.
But it's not that small when you consider you take all the different countries and nations all stacked up against each other. It's not that small. It's not that big, but it's not that small. I think the West is alone pretty much bigger than multiple continents. So
Europe covers 6.8% of the Earth's land.
Okay. And
Let's
compared
see
to
what Africa has. Well, that's the total land. Africa is 20% of land area.
Okay.
So almost 4 times as big.
How big is Australia?
Sorry, which one?
Australia.
Australia, probably not a lot. Asia is 30% of the land area.
Asian supremacy right there.
And Australia is 5%, but that's because it's an island with a bunch of smaller islands around it.
I mean, Australia is almost the size of Europe. Keep that into perspective.
Yeah.
Now, how big is South America?
Larger than North. But
Arguable.
let's see. South America has 3.5% of Earth's surface, but that's not land area. So let's see if we have a second source anywhere. 1/8, so that would be 12.5%.
12%.
Yeah, roughly.
What's North American?
North America has 16.5. Oh, interesting. So it's actually
You
larger.
gotta think the size of Canada. It's not all populated, but it is. It is the
No,
size.
Canada is actually not all that big compared to the
If you
the
keep
United States.
yes. I mean, the United States is freaking big. Like freaking Germany fits in like 3. Like you can put Germany. I think like Germany and France and like Texas. It's like you can fit a lot in like one area.
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
Actual sizes are very difficult to represent, which is kind of
It's
annoying.
impossible.
Yeah. Well, I'd say it's impossible. I'm sure AI could figure
No,
it out.
it is actually impossible because you cannot project a sphere surface on a 2D area. On one map, that is. If you have multiple maps, then it's doable.
Well, I'm not saying like a literal 1-to-1 ratio on a freaking map, because obviously the map would be the size of the planet. I'm saying in terms of like scaling.
Oh yeah, but that's the same. You can't scale every country correctly.
You're saying that if I put
not while also maintaining the shape.
Well, why not? It's
Because,
a scaling thing.
No, it's well,
Because
they don't fit together if you scale them properly.
Properly, well, obviously they would scale together if you did it properly. It doesn't scale
Yeah,
together.
but then you would need a sphere. You can't project it onto a 2D surface while maintaining both shape and area.
You can do. Have you never seen a map that's spherical?
Yeah, but they're not correct 100%.
No, I'm saying like in the style, like the optical illusion, like it was basically if you like would wrap it into a ball or something.
Yeah, that's I think that's called stereographic.
Yeah.
So I mean,
if you take that and then just scale it down onto a map.
Yeah, but stereographic only works for half the planet.
Well, then you make one for the other half of the planet and
Yeah, but then you need 2 maps, right? So you can't accurately portray it onto a single map.
I mean, you could. You just have to have a bigger piece of paper.
Sure, but they're 2 separate maps still.
What?
Just putting them on the same piece of paper does not make it the same map.
But it does. Here we go.
Pull around at non-white peoples.
Wow, that's
I think as well what you're saying about kind of like the literary element in comparison to what is ultimate.
Who is this guy? Because he has appeared on all 3 of the.
He's kind of the.
Is he a Tolkien Society guy?
Well, they're all technically Tolkien Society.
Well, yeah, but is this one the one in charge of doing the questions?
Presenter,
I guess.
I believe he's the presenter. Because I think it's the Tolkien professor guy is the one who runs Sigmund University or whatever it's called.
Yeah, but that's not the Tolkien Society, is it?
No, the Sigmund University is the Tolkien University. You can learn about Tolkien, and he himself works a lot with the Tolkien Society. I don't remember the guy.
Can we see? They have our team thing. They have appointed officers to organize events. Blah blah blah. I don't know any of these names, but
they're probably not important.
I see Riordan in there. I wonder if that's any relation to Rick Riordan.
As well, there's that difference between Tolkien's words and then the adaptation and how someone's come to Tolkien as well. Thank you. Okay, so question number 2. Do you think the Lossoth's wisdom in recognizing the danger of the natural world and the less primitive Arvidai's lack of this reflects Tolkien's documented love of the natural world and desire to preserve it, or his fascination with sea storms.
Why the fuck would
Yeah, well,
Arvidai
so-
not recognize the danger of the natural world? He just thought, sure, this one I can handle.
It just doesn't make sense because, like,
Just because he goes to sail on a ship and there happens to be a storm does not mean he doesn't recognize the dangers of the natural world.
well, no, it's like, why would the Lossoth pay attention? It's like, well, because it's the area they live in.
Yes, and also it's snow and so harsher, maybe.
Well, it's they see the seasons, they see the ice. Assuming the ice flows, they see a whole bunch of stuff. They see the patterns for probably the seabirds. They see patterns for fish. They see a whole bunch of, like, they pay attention because it has to do with their survival. Like,
Yeah,
that's just
that's
such a
because of the harshness of their region.
yes, but it's a silly concept to be like, well, why would he do this? I'm like, well, because that's what a normal people group would do. Like, if I'm going to insert any people group, regardless of who they are, what they look like, or anything, what their race is, their phenotype, anything, if I put them into the story, I'm going to have them be aware of the things that are going to affect them, even if I don't talk about them, because if I ever do talk about them, I want to know that I know that they know what they're doing in what area. Like, it wouldn't make sense to do otherwise. Excuse me.
You have part Downfall of Numenor there, and part Treebeard, and part the Shepherds of the Trees,
Well,
don't you? So you have
that has nothing to do with the question.
The Fall of Numenor has nothing to do with that. The Fall of
And
Numenor.
Treebeard also has nothing to do with this. He's not even in the same region.
No, Treebeard because of the natural.
Ah, okay. But that's an interesting
Yeah.
link, maybe, that
It's what we call a reach.
it's, yeah.
tropic ecology and sustainable ecology dovetailing. And
I bet this guy believes the Fall of Numenor is because they use too many carbon emissions.
Could be. Of course, the actual reason is they decided to start worshipping Sauron.
No, Morgoth.
No, Morgoth was gone by then.
No.
Oh, no, wait, Sauron made them worship Morgoth, sure, yes. But,
Yes.
I mean, you could technically say that's
He was in
also...
the void, but he was having them worship him anyway.
Yeah.
of course, you could
How do you not know that? What are you, a noob? Depends on the day.
Yeah, I suppose it does.
talk about it in terms of climate
It's like I've slept since then.
I know.
change as well. I flirted, people talk about the Little Ice Age and the late Middle Ages. I flirted with bringing that in, but decided not to. But
Yeah,
yes,
because it has no relation to anything. Why would you add that in?
Because he likes talking about useless topics.
True, I suppose.
It has to do with
Just because they live in Snowland doesn't mean you have to bring in the Little Ice Age of the medieval period, right?
Or do you?
Or do you? Hmm.
when Tolkien would look at people like the Lossoth and say, "What do I have in common?"
People like them. It's like, what do you mean, you people?
Yeah, wow, that's a bit racist.
I mean, you already know he's a blatant racist. His
Yeah,
entire thing is racist.
True.
With it. And when he would look at the real,
I mean,
You're
his
both human, maybe, I guess. That's something you have in common.
mind, indigenous by default equals
Less
or whatever.
than them, right?
Non-white, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, this is also usually the case in people who are of these beliefs, that they generally see the minority groups as lesser, and therefore they have to uplift them to the same
Well, that's
thing by
because
doing their whole anti-racism stuff.
these little people do not have the capacity to do anything on their own.
Yeah, no,
They need the white saviors to come out and keep
exactly.
them.
And
also
that's exactly what this person is.
and tell them what they
thinks he
can
is.
and cannot do, because obviously, like here in the States, these are the kind of people who don't think that black people have the capability of going
Yeah.
to DMV.
They can't get an idea, right? That's why you You
can't get it,
cannot have a ID
so
requirement on voting.
difficult. And it's
Yeah.
like
Wow.
we can't use thumbprint scanners because everyone knows that black people don't have
Mm-hmm.
thumbprints. Like, it's like this stupid reason that
And
they
the whole quotas on university acceptance, because clearly black people can't manage on their own.
for the most part, I think they've backtracked a lot of that stuff.
I doubt it. They probably just pretended to backtrack.
Affirmative action in its totality has been kind of reverted a bit. I don't think it's completely gone.
No, it's probably still there, but just renamed to something different. Maybe more in the shadows.
It's specific schools like Yale, Harvard,
Mhm.
Stanford, all that kind of stuff. The Ivy League, those are the ones that are still holding on to it. But that's also because of the DEI people in their.
They're everywhere, right?
Yeah, they're all over the place. But
Life analogs. She would probably say, what I have in common with them is I am trying to preserve and listen to nature, and I am opposing the then very dominant.
So note how he doesn't say, I have in common with them that we are both human and we both want to live, right?
referring to Tolkien.
Hmm?
He's referring to Tolkien's
No,
relationship.
he's referring to Alvedui meeting the Lossoth and having to check
He had
their
mentioned Tolkien.
commonalities, right?
Need to extract and shape and industrialize and process the land and not heat it. So that's, I
No,
think,
but we should heed it because the Lossoth are living in snowland and it's really fucking cold over there.
It's very snowy, don't you know?
Yeah. They're literally called the snow people.
The people of the snow.
People of snow, same
thing. Again, it's not enough to make him totally anti-racist, but that commonality is there.
thing.
Okay.
Because why would
Thank
you be anti-racist?
Because you're racist unless you're anti-racist. Didn't you pick this all up?
Yeah, we did go over that, but it's still stupid.
It's always been stupid, and it'll always be stupid.
True,
That's
true.
the part. It always has been.
And a third question.
I
So
forgot how painful these videos were to watch.
I was gonna say, aren't you glad you came today? Oh, that's great.
I mean, on one hand, you can roast people like these presenters.
And correct.
On the other hand, you have to actually listen to them talk. So, is it beneficial in the long run? Maybe not.
Say it's a win-win, but it's definitely a win-lose.
Mhm.
what do you think about the Grey Havens as this haven overseas, meant for people of the Middle Earth? Also,
But
do you
it's not overseas. Grey Havens are literally on the same fucking continent. And also, there's only elves in the Grey Havens.
Well, also, this is the chat, and the chat's retarded.
No, that's fair. The people are retarded. Yes.
How do we know? They open their mouths.
Yep.
on the representation of the Haradrim?
Yeah. The Grey Havens.
What do the Grey Havens have to do with
Nothing at all. They're not even remotely near each other.
They never
Clearly,
interact.
whoever asked the question does not know anything about the geography of Middle Earth.
I just want to go to bed. Like this is killing me.
Yeah.
Man, we got like 2 minutes
Oh,
left.
okay, let's go. We can do it.
My only thought has always been my thought. They are so far westward to almost be other, but there also seems to be a question of who has access to them. Since there are so many people, like the dwarves of the Erenluin, and like the Shire people, and like the Bree people, who are
The Shire people,
Yeah.
not just the hobbits in the Shire, but okay.
actually.
But notice that the hobbits are really close to the Grey Havens, and they don't have access to it.
Well, I mean, they're not really that close.
They're closer than Elrond.
Well, sure, okay, fair.
But
They're
like,
probably the closest if you don't count the dwarves.
yeah. But the dwarves.
But they're still quite a distance away.
Although it is a shame. I wish the dwarves actually did something with the water, because I'd love to see like a dwarven ship that's like a warship.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
It wouldn't be the
But
standard
they are
size.
people of the mountains, so they
A
can't be
stone-
near water.
A stone ship.
Maybe, yeah, because that
Hey,
floats.
remember the stone? The stone sinks because it looks down.
Yeah, no, that's right. But what if it was a? Does the stone ship sink
Somebody
or
actually wrote
float?
that and then thought they had a good idea. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, no. I mean,
Here,
that
here's the great
painful show to watch as well.
Dude, I got this close to just ending it all. Like it was, oh my gosh.
Damn.
It was bad. Well, I mean, you gotta think somebody
Luckily,
who's
it only had like 5 episodes, right?
8.
No, no.
Uh,
It
yes,
stops
yes.
after everyone dies from the volcano explosion, doesn't it?
No, sadly, no.
Damn.
Honestly, if the volcano had blown up the entire continent and the other continents included in the entire of Arda, that would have probably been the best ending ever. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, no, it continued on, and we're getting
Damn.
in like a year. So,
I'm really not looking forward to it.
I mean, I am because I have a guest coming on to help me slam it because it's
Okay,
gonna
that's fair.
It's,
But then
it's
again,
gonna,
there's been so many terrible shows lately.
yeah, but it's a particularly a Tolkien fan who has a
yeah, no,
he has
that's true.
he has a hate boner for this kind of stuff because of how bad they butchered it. So, um, and it's impossible for Amazon to recover.
That's true. It's simple. Well, they say they're going to be more
They're not
accurate, right? But they're not.
confirmed.
They're
Not.
definitely not.
Yeah, it's already been
So
confirmed. They're not.
it's already impossible.
and if they want to access them, they could. So I think that
The Haradrim would have no reason to go to the Grey Havens because if they could get to the Grey Havens, they could go anywhere.
Why would they? Yeah, why would they go to the Grey Havens if they can also just go to Umbar?
Yeah, Umbar's much closer.
It is much closer. Yeah.
there's an interesting anomaly, but they are also an
I
extremity.
still can't get over the fact that his head's half disappearing into the clouds. Right. It's really distracting.
Well, like I said, everything about him's pretty distracting, including the words he says.
Fair.
The Haradrim, yeah, I think
Yeah.
Tolkien intends them as analogs of near Harad is the Arab world and far Harad is the African world, and there are in the siege of
Why is Far Harad the African world?
Black people are from Harad. I don't know if it's near or far. One of them is more.
Well, no, but the Far Harad is still Arabic, right?
I think it becomes a blend mixture in that area.
I would say
in one
the actual black, right, African black, South African that is, it would be much further south of Umbar, right?
Yes, but Harad doesn't go that far south. I don't think they have any mention of who's further south.
Well, maybe if Far Harad means not just the bit beyond Harad.
Near Harad means it's closer to the river.
Yeah, near Harad is actually, if we get a map.
Is it the Anduin which it lines up with?
It's no, I don't think it's the Anduin. Well, maybe Anduin. Yeah, it could be the Anduin. It's basically the other side of the Anduin, below the mountains of Mordor, right? That's near Harad, but Far Harad is like the deep desert.
So Harad is south of Mordor, so south of Ithilien and all that jazz. Near Harad,
and Far Harad is like the desert area.
Okay, so Far Harad is actually further south. Yes, I thought it was. I was wrong. Yes, it is further south. So there's a lot of Harad, and then there's near Harad. Which
I see. Yeah. Okay. Fair. So Harondor is actually what I thought was near Harad, and near Harad is what I thought was Far Harad. In that case, yeah. Far Harad could be African.
You need to play more Battle for Middle Earth, good sir.
That's fair.
We're still gonna do that. I actually think that'd be fun to live stream sometime, but
could be.
I can't do it on. I'd have to have Matt help me out with OBS because I can't use this and do it because.
No, this seems like an awkward way to stream games.
This thing cannot do it. It just can't. It struggles, which it doesn't make any sense to me. They should have all the necessities available to it, but whatever.
Unmistakable echoes of the siege of Constantinople or the siege of Vienna or so on. And
Those have
why
so
are we
much
suddenly talking about the siege of Constantinople and Vienna?
because it's the same thing as the Grey Havens and Harad, don't you know?
No, but there's literally nothing similar there.
They have people in them.
Okay, fair. There's maybe a tiny bit of similarity.
The fiction has been trying to get itself out from under that ever since. I do think, again, that paradox I noted, ancestry of the Corsairs of Umbar, people who actually leave Gondor because this Dinatharia, this half-barbarian Dinatharia, is the king, and then they take over and become purer than the pure. Again, if I was to read anything critical, anything anti-racist in the representation of the Haradrim, I would say that. And of course, you all know the scene in the Two Towers where Sam sees the fallen warrior and says, "This guy had a life too and feelings too," and it is a.
Doesn't Faramir say that in the film?
In the movies, he says it. Sam, I think, says it in the books.
Could be, but he says we remember the scene in the movies, right? But then he has the wrong character.
What's soldiers? Potatoes, boil them, mash them, stick them in
Stick them in the stew, yeah.
And I found out recently there's a remix of that for a song.
There is a remix of everything.
It's actually pretty freaking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to do a cover of it, but yeah.
Somewhat intersectional moment there, but
he does not understand what intersectional means.
If I relate to somebody, it's apparently anti-racist.
Yeah, but also, I mean, he's supposed to be the expert on this, right? But he doesn't understand the nature of intersectionality.
If I relate to this person, but I don't vote the same way as him, I'm an anti-racist racist.
Wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense. But he's specifically talking about racist-related things, right? Intersectionality, as I mentioned previously.
If he talks about Harad, he has to scream and shout that he's anti-racist.
Yeah, but that he calls that intersectional.
Yeah.
But intersectional specifically relates to the intersection of multiple different minority categories.
Well,
they have
issues in terms of
this is purely on the view of race. That's one category. If you mix that with sexuality and gender, then you get intersections between those two, and then you talk of intersectional theories. But if it's just race, it cannot be intersectional by definition.
Well, this is what a PhD, bachelor's, and all that stuff gets you. Thank you, college, for being completely useful.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, the scholarship on the Sigawara land essay, Tolkien's original name for the Haradrim, or a name he considered, was
that's what they call themselves.
The Sun Harrowers, the Sun Harrow land, and that is clear from that Sigawara essay that he is extracting from that, and there has been work on that is talking about Tolkien and kind of racism towards people of the South.
Why is that racism to call people of the South sun harrowed? Because that's a reference to the fact that they live in the desert, which is harrowed by the sun.
This is so accurate. It's racism. Like, imagine seeing somebody of a different skin tone for the first time. How do you respond to that?
You probably think, "Oh, that's weird."
You attribute something to them that you are familiar with.
Yeah, they have darker skin, so clearly the sun must have shined a bit hard over there, and they burned or something. I don't know.
Sun, where you're from? You could say that.
Yeah. No, but a sun harrowed, that's not remotely a racist term. I don't know.
It's a description.
It's yeah, but also it's because of the lands, not the people.
It's the location.
That's like calling people from the desert desert people, and that's somehow racist. Right?
Well, that's clearly racist because they're clearly from paradise, not the desert.
Well, but maybe that's the same thing.
Desert paradise?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. Have they put up a parking lot yet?
No comments.
Stupid songs, man. I don't know why the songs exist.
Hmm.
But yes, we made it through.
Another
Woo!
one scratched
Another
off the
one.
list.
Oh, only like 3,000 more to go.
Well, let's hope not. There's
Yeah.
not that many in the playlist, right? It should be only like 15.
That's basically 3,000.
I suppose if it's 15 of these types of things, then it might feel like 3,000.
Yeah. I mean, all things considered, they're only mostly retarded. And by
Only
mostly,
mostly, yeah.
completely
But that
retarded.
means completely, yeah.
Yes. And I don't think what he tried to get out, like, we're talking about the Lossoth for everything. We get to anti-racism and nothing about.
And then suddenly it's Ibram X. Kendi instead of the Lossoth.
And if the Lossoth are based off of the people he says they're based off of, then they're white. They're
Then
not.
yes.
So they're not different. They would be. Would it be like homocultural, or?
I don't know what you mean.
Well, homo meaning the same, hetero meaning different. So you'd be like,
But
it's
culture, they have a different culture still.
well, homo phenotype. Yeah. What allegedly, if you're following real world stuff, they have like a shared common ancestor, like that whites branched off at some point from each other.
But then again, I mean, all humans in
what
Lord of the Rings have the common ancestor, right? And in the real world as well. I don't know if it has a proper term.
Because it'd be homo something, because homo meaning same. They're the same. If they're whites and they're whites, then they're the same. But same of what?
Usually the terms used to describe maybe homo ethnic, but that seems dodgy.
I mean,
from a linguistic point of view. Usually we talk about race in this context, right? So it would be homo race, but that doesn't sound right because race is not an ancient Latin or Greek word.
Yeah, I can't think of what it would be called.
I mean, we would call it shared ancestry, probably, but nothing fancy like it.
Homo ancestry?
No, that doesn't have the same.
It means same ancestry is what it means.
Same, yeah, but not. It sounds wrong.
That's because you're used to pop culture, not Greek.
No, that has nothing to do with it.
I mean, it does, because in pop culture, homo means a totally different entire context.
Oh yeah, sure. But like we use the term homo with like other words in science a lot.
Yes, because it means same.
Yeah. But it sounds wrong because you combine it with a word that does not have the same linguistic source.
Yes, because we don't have the Greek variation of whatever the other word.
Yeah.
But I don't have that much of Greek memorized. I apologize.
Yeah, no, there probably isn't a Greek variant.
There'd be a word that would be used for it. It might.
Yeah, but that likely doesn't have the same meaning.
It would probably be more broken.
Because it have to be, because the concept is specifically
I'd have to ask my uncle, who like knows every language under the sun, but it's
could be. Maybe he knows what to call it.
Oh, I mean, he knows Hebrew, Latin, Greek. I think he has like 5 or 6 other languages he knows.
Oh, that's quite a lot.
he's a very studious person. He likes to study ancient cultures and stuff. But yeah, well, guys, I guess that's going to be pretty much it for the video. Love to hear your guys' comments and thoughts down below. If you'd like to like this video, that'd be great.
Don't like the original video we watched though. That's
you don't
yeah.
have to. I'm going to be posting a link to it probably anyway because
Maybe dislike it just for good measure.
well, they turned off dislikes, remember, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, no, but the Tolkien Society can see it.
They don't care.
They don't care, sure, but still.
They turned off comments.
Maybe does it? I assume it affects the algorithm, right? Then again, no one's going to watch that video anyway.
Interaction will do that. The dislikes, because I think they took the dislikes aspect out of the algorithm.
Oh, completely?
For the most part. I don't think it's completely, but I think it just means if people dislike it, they're less likely to see stuff like that.
Okay.
I don't think it affects their getting out their numbers quite like it used to.
I have no idea.
I think because everything in the algorithm is going to swing in favor of them, not away from them.
Fair.
So, I mean, you can get that little extension that like shows you what they are, and that helps you like pay attention to it. Or like, is this worth watching?
Like, who has watched that video other than people that already agree and us?
Yeah, it's what 3 years old now. We're coming up on 3 years old. There's probably
so?
It's 2021, but I think it was summer, so we're almost there. But
5th of July.
I just can't, for the life of me, think of.
I just clicked on it.
The 6th of June, whatever.
It doesn't actually give a date for the specific. It just says 2 years ago. So, yeah, who knows? But the playlist is from the 5th of July. Oh, and it says here the thing was held on Zoom over the 3rd, 4th July 2021.
Sounds about right for that quality.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you guys
just the intro bit of the video where he switches between his name and his face like 7 times in a row.
Well, he's doing it on a tablet. He's not doing it on a PC like an intelligent human being.
Yeah, but still, it's so unprofessional.
Well, I mean, I say that about people who use Macs, but that's a different story.
Okay, that's fair.
It is fair. It's very fair. You'd be better off using Linux. But,
Everything but a Mac.
Basically. People who are licensed to Mac don't even like Mac. It's all the people who don't know anything about Mac are the ones who like Mac, which tells you like when the masses of ignorant people like Mac, it's probably something you should stay away from. But that's just me. There's better things you can spend money on. You could build literally the exact same rig as everything Apple, and then literally just purchase the OS system to put on that hardware.
I mean, the only reason to get one is the image associated with Apple products.
The branding, yes.
Yeah. Which, of course, is the worst reason ever you could go for anything.
To be fair, they do really good software stuff for like photography and for graphic art and stuff like that, and artistry stuff. They have really good software. But
that's why all the artist types have those.
Yeah. Well, it's also like they have music things like GarageBand and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You can record music too.
But it's absolutely awful for anything else.
Yeah. And all the other software that's on Windows that they port over costs like
doesn't properly work.
Well, it costs 6 times more. Like I remember back when I was in high school, I want to say I was like 16 or 17, probably 17. We went to the store and they had one of the stores here, and they had like I always look for their like computer games and stuff because I grew up on gaming and stuff. And
same.
Next to their PC section, they had a Mac section of software, and in the Mac section of software, well, I should say in the PC section of software, they had Age of Empires 2 Gold Edition for like $20-$30, right?
Yeah.
And then go over to the Mac section.
I mean, I
like,
don't know how expensive it was. But...
It's like $60 or $80. Like it's massively overpriced.
To be fair, nowadays games also are approaching the 80.
Yes, but what I'm saying is that the percentage, like $20-$30 for the regular gold edition, like,
Yeah, no, it's increase
that percentage jump was like
ratio. Yeah,
it was at least double. So if a game was
yeah.
released for like $80 and they put it on Mac, it'd be like 160. It'd be like ridiculously expensive. So it's just not worth it. It really isn't.
Yeah. No, for
So
gaming, you obviously want Windows because it doesn't have compatibility with Mac and Linux often.
well, Steam has a lot of games that are they'll say they're Mac or Linux and
Yeah, but
Windows.
are they really?
I mean, if they are, they are. Steam's pretty.
Okay, but anything multiplayer probably runs into issues.
It depends on if it has crossplay or not. Crossplay
Yeah.
does pretty.
Okay, but often it doesn't.
My brother has a Mac and he plays some games on it as well. It's a bit harder to do, but
It's more awkward. Yeah.
yeah. So, anyway, we're getting off into the weeds on that one.
Yeah. Let's not have another 2-hour discussion afterwards. That's completely unrelated to.
We sneak in some computer stuff and then bam, we're talking about video games for 6 hours. But yeah, we'll do that another time probably. But although I don't even really play video games that much, so it's kind of weird.
Hmm.
I'm like the only gamer on this side of the YouTube, so what's up with that?
Yeah.
But yeah. If
Right,
everybody,
because gamers don't exist on YouTube, right?
well,
You're the first, right?
especially the Council of the Light, yeah. If you guys could leave a comment and build some interaction, we'd love to, talk to you guys and leave our own comments and stuff to you. Respond. What do you think about anti-racism identity and indigenous peoples in Tolkien? Because there's so many of them, and they all matter more than importantly than anything else, apparently, for reasons. But yeah, let us know what you guys think. I'd love to hear that. If you could share this video with people you think would care about Tolkien, which hopefully are a lot of people because Tolkien's kind of a cool person.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can agree with that.
we'd love to hear from you guys, and we're gonna keep making these because we got a whole lot more to make.
Yeah, another 12 at least.
Sage is dying on the inside, so that's all good. But yeah, thank you everybody. We'll see you for part 4 whenever that comes out. But
Yeah, let's hope it takes a while. I need to recover from this one.
we got like a week maybe if you're lucky.
That should do it, probably.
We're doing another one tonight. Just saying.
God damn.
But yes, we'll see you guys
Not sure if I can handle
around.
that.
Walk in the light, my friends.